Show.
It's uncut, it's unfiltered. This is the show of shows. This is the biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred.
Speaking his mind.
I've never had a problem expressing my opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way.
Exploring hot topics.
Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do.
And spreading the gospel of drag racing.
I respect the history. I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. This is the great American motorsport, drag racing.
The Wes Buck Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Sarah. Hey gang, Wes Buck here, Drag Illustrated Magazine, checking in. It is Wednesday, August 31st, I believe, 2022. Last time I checked. Thank you for joining us. We are live. Unbelievable moment for the Drag Illustrated team here. We are live at John Force Racing. Let me say thanks here momentarily. A huge shout out to Sarah Slaughter, the whole media team at John Force Racing. Of course, Brian Bolander to my right, the whole team at Peak Antifreeze for believing in us, supporting this project and being a part, sharing our vision for the sport of drag racing. We feel strongly, as you guys hear me talk about every week, that we have to put faces to names. We have to give these men and women an opportunity to tell their story, let them get to know you and you get to know them. And it's something near and dear my heart, near and dear our entire team's heart, and we appreciate every one of you that have been here along the way. We're 275 episodes?
Yeah, something like that.
275 episodes in on this deal, and I vividly remember duct taping an iPhone to a box of magazines as a tripod. Do you have a picture of it, T?
Yeah,
this deal's come a long way since then, and we genuinely appreciate each and every one of you. Huge shout out to all of our sponsors. I'd ask that each one of you support the companies that support us: Redline Oils, Flow Racing, Stroud Safety, Elite High Performance. Please support the companies that support us: Holly Performance Parts, and most importantly, help us spread the message, help us spread the gospel of drag racing. I truly believe, and I mean this when I say it, that drag racing is the great American motorsport, and we need your help spreading the gospel. So click like, click share, help us spread the message. If you're watching along on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. But without any further ado, like I said, live from John Force Racing, I'm joined.
This was wild. Man.
This is kind of wild, right?
Very wild.
That's where you kind of look around and go, how do we get here?
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
I couldn't even sleep last night. I was like,
really?
There in bed.
I thought you blacked out.
I tried.
That may have been what
I tried. Yeah. Mike told me to. Mike said, "Roll over and go to bed."
It was time. It was time. Well, hey guys, to my right, I'm first time guest on the show. I think.
Yeah.
First time guest, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give it up for the one, the only, the man of the hour, in my opinion. Peak Antifreeze's own, Old Word Industry's own, Brian Bolander. What's up, buddy?
Thank you, Wes. No, I appreciate you guys coming out here. You know, the neat part about this shop here in Brownsburg is we get a chance to, because of being involved in this program for so many years, I get a chance to see this operation from a whole different angle, right? So it's nice for me to be able to give you guys the opportunity to come up here and check this out. We're actually in John's museum upstairs, which most people don't even know exists. This is only a fraction of John's history. The other half is in Yorba Linda at that shop. And you can see behind me, you've got a lot of his history, awesome. The girls' history as well, the P car behind us. You can't see on the other end, but we've got the original Super Count cars from Courtney and Ashley. And, we've got one of their top fuel cars up here. I mean, this is the history of John Force Racing. It's really neat.
It's like hallowed ground.
It's hallowed ground.
I mean, it really is.
This is why we don't spend a lot of time together, because we can complete each other's sentences, but that's a whole other
conversation. We've got a slight bromance developing. I can feel it. But in all seriousness, this is a really unique thing. I mean, the media summit that you guys put together, Peak with John Force Racing, really incredible concept. I applaud you guys for it. And as I walked through this place, I was kind of like walking around a little bit with my chest puffed out, because I'm reminded of all the photographers that have stood along a guard wall somewhere, sweating, sunburnt, working their tail off, being ignored by a lot of people, not being treated all too well. And to see these walls covered in photos and winner circle pictures and all these different things, it's the media world contributes so much to the sport of drag racing. And it was really great of you guys to open your doors to them, welcome them into the place, give them a tour. I mean, we had a hell of a time this morning.
And the drivers made themselves available for the media.
And you'll have more of that later on. Since you brought about photography, I got to do a shout out, Richard Chute. I know he had some medical issues the other day. Thinking of you, buddy. So appreciate all you've done for the past 50 years in the sport. Anyway, going back to the media summit. So Sarah and I had this wild idea, about a year ago or so now. And we said, how do we get media away from the racetrack, get them in the shop where they can get one-on-one interviews with the drivers, really get to understand more about the technology in the sport, understand more about, what happens behind the scenes. Everybody sees what happens at the racetrack, but they don't get to see what happens in the building. So it was great. We were able to give you guys a tour this morning. And hopefully there's a ton of content that you'll see from various media outlets as we go into the weekend here for the U.S. Nationals. And it kind of feels a little crazy right now because it's quiet. Because 2.5 hours ago, there were semis in this place. There were the crew guys were buttoning everything up, and it's a ghost town right now because everybody's stacked and ready to load.
It's kind of amazing. I tell people this all the time, that coming to a place like John Force Racing, it's inspiring. Right. Especially, the sport of drag racing is comprised not entirely, but largely by blue collar, entrepreneur, hardworking, good folks, the salt of the earth. And to come to a place like this and see the scale and the manpower and the machinery and the effort and the precision and the attention to detail, the organization, it's inspiring. I mean, I tell these guys, look around and be reminded, drag racing made this possible.
Not bad for an old trucker, right? I mean, if Force will tell you that's how it all started for him. And, I won't go in all the details from our side, but that's one of the beauties of why he is so good at what he does, because of his background, because he can talk the talk. He is a blue-collar racer who's built an empire out of the sport of drag racing. It's pretty phenomenal.
It's absolutely phenomenal. And you walk around here and you see all the relationships with the various companies, huge companies like Peak and Old World Industries. I mean, it's amazing. All the various relationships, all these pieces of memorabilia, these record-setting moments, the effort that they put into the Eric Medlin project is, I mean, you can't help but have your heart grow a couple sizes. I mean, I feel like the Grinch again. It's just, you walk in there and it's so incredible, the effort, the money spent, the time and energy dedicated to making these race cars safer. It's an incredible thing, and a huge shout out to John. I don't know how much he was even involved in this deal. I told my dad that he called me personally, which was a lie, but whatever.
Buck. He calls you Buck.
He calls me Buck, which is cool. I'm down with. But like, to be here, huge shout out to John. Thank you.
It's funny because John and I've got the point with a working relationship where I'll throw ideas at him and he'll just say, all right, Bolander, I trust you. Let's go for it. I mean, I'll tell you a quick story here too. Brute Force. You know how that all came about? So we were sitting and having a conversation. I said, John, your fans want you to bring back the history. They want to bring back, we want to start bringing back some of this. You've been doing this too long. There's so many great things that you've done in your career. We need to go celebrate those. I pushed and pushed and pushed for years. And finally I think it was April or May of last year. I said, you know what, for Halloween, let's do this. Let's do Brute Force for Halloween. And nobody will question it, why we're doing it. It's a Halloween theme. Everybody does Halloween themes. He finally said, okay, let's do it. And I almost fell out of my chair. Really? We're going to put Brute Force back in the car? So, I mean, we've built that kind of relationship over the years to where, he knows I'm looking out for, not only from the Peak side, for what is the best for us to be able to tell our story, but also for him, what the fans want and what drag racing needs to go to the next level. And he's such a huge part of that we have to capitalize on that for as long as we have the ability to do that.
And you are, and I'm curious a couple of things. That's an amazing thing, and it's crazy. Is this whole relationship? Obviously, you've got a rich history in motorsports. You're a racer yourself. You've worked with IndyCar, F1, NASCAR, all these various major motorsports outlets. But being here today, I mean, this is a huge moment for us. Like, we're kind of geeked out. I've sweat through my shirt already. Is it working with John? I mean, being on a first name basis with this guy, being able to throw up an idea, does that blow your mind at all?
Yeah, it does, because what's really interesting is part of the reason I'm at this company has a weird tie back to him. I was actually in Chicago when he won his 87th career win, when he broke Glidden's record. And just so happened that an ad popped up in the newspaper 2 days later for the company that manufactures peak antifreeze and split fire spark plugs. And 3.5 months later, I was working for them. That's now going on, we're 22 years in.
Holy moly. Did you guys know that? I got goosebumps again. I do. I get goosebumps a lot though,
Yeah.
But holy moly, that's an incredible story. So you feel the way we feel.
Yeah, so it's one
I'm
of those
geeked
things.
out.
Yeah, we've come full circle. I would have never guessed at that point, one, that I'd have the opportunity to be involved in the sport for as long as I have been. But then two, that, we come full circle and that John would be the face of the brand, moving forward.
It's massively impressive, and kudos to you guys and like the belief Peak obviously has in you, and the belief you have in John and our sport. It means a lot to us. I'm curious, you mentioned the way he's obviously, John Force is a renowned storyteller. I think probably the best ever. You think about that, but how important is that? I always end up turning these conversations into like life lessons or business self-help deals. But how important is that content element to a company like Peak? We heard, I mentioned Sarah at the beginning of the show. Sarah Slaughter runs like the content and media operation here at JFR, and there are teams that have that role filled, but there's a whole world of drag racers that are kind of sleeping on that. How important is that to you and Peak?
Well, it's very important, and really, I say sponsorship comes down to three key pillars, right? So the first piece of it is there's got to be some business tie-in. So whether that's a business-to-business program or direct sales relationship, whatever that is. The second piece of it is media, and I'll call media really content generation and storytelling. And there's no better storyteller in drag racing, period. I mean, we can sit there for hours and listen to the stories he tells, and half of them we can't even put on the air, but that's a whole other conversation.
This morning.
Yeah. And then the other piece of it too is if there's a way to validate your products, then that's really the third key lever on a sponsorship. So if you can tie in at least two of those three pillars, or all three of them, you really have a solid program. And you notice I never said about putting stickers on a race car. I love the fact that we have a hardcore blue collar DIY, automotive DIY audience in drag racing. That's essential. And that is, to me, is a really big icing on the cake. But when you can take John and you can wheel him into customers that are involved in the trucking industry or in the automotive retailer industry, and he can talk the talk, and because he's lived it, and tell the stories. I mean, the guy's got 9 semis he runs up and down the road. So when you really think about it from that side, everybody asks, why are we here? Well, there's a lot of reasons we're here. I mean, I'm barely scratching the surface.
And Brian, you told me one time, I think we were in a meeting maybe a year or two ago, that, in this day and age where sponsors come and go pretty quick. But you told us one time that Peak was going to be here for as long as John Force wanted to race. And I thought, man, that's good to hear. A company actually say that.
Yeah. But the funny part about that, and John will tell you this too, he doesn't think he's going to be here. He doesn't think he'll live that long. So, but no, I mean, John has been a great ambassador for us in a lot of different capacities. And as long as John wants to continue to race, we're going to be along for the ride, and it's good for both of us. It's good for him, and it's great for us.
It's an amazing thing to have witnessed for all these years. I'm curious, we talk about history. We're headed into the 68th running of the NHRA US Nationals. Yeah. Clearly you're a student of the sport. Let's talk just a little bit about the magic of this event. I mean, it's Wednesday before the race, and I feel like you can kind of already sense the anticipation. Everywhere you go, people are talking about it. Brett and I were driving over to here this morning, and we're hearing it on the radio. I mean, what's your take on Indy? There's people that believe that it's not what it once was, or blah blah blah. But man, it's a special spot.
So let's shut the naysayers up. There's 99 professional cars entered for this weekend. There's 935 cars entered overall. 935 cars between sportsman and pro racing. You know how many stacker trailers and motorhomes and semis that is? This place is crawling with race cars. There is a certain allure of winning the U.S. Nationals. I mean, even, I go back in this deal all the way back to Jim Yates' pro stock days, and I'll never forget, Jim had never gone past the second round until 2002, and I was on the starting line with Tony Yates at that point, and Tony just looked over and was like, you must be good luck or something, because we're going to the finals, and this is the greatest day ever. And it's just, there's just that something about not only this place, but this event, win, lose, or draw, there's just that aura about being here. You can feel it when you walk through the gates.
It's amazing in the way, and I think the NHRA deserves a lot of credit for this. Just sticking it out. You know what I mean? Like standing the test of time. A lot of times it's easy to pick on them, right? Because they're the man, right? They're the big boss in our sport and in our space, but they do so many things so well, and to see this event become what it has and what it has been for a long time, and the lines of people, I mean, campers as far as the eye can see, it's so significant. And I talked about that a little bit on Facebook. I don't do this often, but I got into a little bit of a back and forth with somebody in the comments, and these guys stopped me because I'll go off the rails pretty quick. But there was someone talking about, there used to be this many cars, 1,500, blah, blah, blah. Guys, 935 race cars, fresh off a global pandemic, in a kind of questionable economy, odd political climate. What a victory for the sport of drag racing. I mean, it's absolutely, to get 900 anything in one place at one time is a challenge, but let alone, like you said, 900 motorhomes, dualies, trucks, trailers, stackers. It's incredible.
Well, and for a company that manufactures automotive products and diesel exhaust fluid and heavy duty coolants, there's a reason we're here. If you can read between the lines,
right? I mean, and I try to remind people of that, and I think it's important because drag racers need to be reminded of this at times too. That it's easy to feel like we're not NASCAR, we're not Formula One or whatever, but we are drag racing. We are the great American motorsport. We're something that's easy to understand. We play to the ever shortening attention span of society. I mean, there's a lot of pluses, and the fact that there are so many people that do this and so many companies involved, it's really a special place. And to your point, I mean, look around, you see all these companies diving in, and you're going, they clearly see there's consumers here, there's customers here.
And we've got announcements on deck this week. We've heard of some rumors and some confirmed. A lot of teams announcing new sponsors, new companies coming into the sport. So that's something exciting about Indy as well. They use this as a platform to make their entry.
It's prime for it. And you hit the nail on the head when you talk about motorsports. You know, you can watch stock car racing and watch cars go around in circles. You can watch sports car racing, road racing, what have you. Okay, you can kind of get the idea of going around corners fast and twisting around corners, running a big bank track. Unless you ever get a driving experience opportunity, you really can't relate to. But everybody has stopped at the stoplight and had that car next to them, whether they want to admit it or not, who they've revved the throttle and they've tried to go beat to the next stoplight. This is the all-American sport that everyone in some capacity has either done or can completely relate to. We should have hundreds of thousands of people out here.
You may be my spirit animal, Brian, because how many times have I said that? I mean, because it's true. I mean, whether young, old, every race, creed, color, right? It's infinitely relatable, and it does. I get frustrated because I won't settle. Like, I'm so proud of where our sport is, and I look around and I see the brands that are on these cars, and I see people that are making a living driving a race car or making a living working on a race car, and my heart swells and I'm happy, but I'm not content because I believe this sport deserves more.
And if you look around, we are getting a younger generation in. I mean, I've been very close to the Pains for years, sponsoring Jay, and it's nice to see, Maddie out there and see Toby out there running. There's a whole group of them that are coming. And I mean, even if you look around here, give it 3 or 4 years here. Well, actually, not even that long. Proberstad or Autumn is going to be in Super Comp next year. Noah and Jacob are going to be, Ashley and Danny's kids are going to be racing junior dragsters. Give them a few years, they're going to be out here. There is another generation coming. The sport is in good hands. Everybody talks about all the bad and this, that, and another and all the problems. But you know what? For the one little thing that they talk about, there's 1,000 good things that are happening out here right now.
And thank you for making that point, because we talked about this morning during the tour, and shout out to Steve that led us around this place. What a wealth of information that man is. Showed us the ins and outs, every corner and closet in this joint.
This place is awesome.
It is spectacular.
It's crazy.
I don't know that everybody's going to get that kind of treatment, but if you ever have the opportunity, it's certainly worth pursuing. Unbelievable. But we talked earlier about a person has to be cognizant of where they're taking the temperature. Like, it's easy to pick things apart, but I mean, let's go beyond the NHRA. I mean, we've got a big weekend ahead of us. We're going to talk about the NHRA U.S. Nationals likely for the rest of the afternoon and the rest of the week. However, as we mentioned earlier, there's a lot of killer stuff going on in the sport of drag racing. Yeah. Alex Taylor, a part of the Peak.
One of our Peak influencers.
Peak influencers. The drag and drive movement is thriving. Heads Up Drag Racing is thriving. We still have a strong radial tire scene. Nostalgia Racing seems to be doing well. All these big money bracket races that are going on. There's Thursday night shootouts across the country, Friday night shootouts, a slew of regional series. The NMCA, I'm a big believer in what the NMCA does and the product that they offer. They're having a banner year. There's a lot of good things happening in the sport of drag racing outside the NHRA.
We spent a couple weeks ago with Alex and her dad Dennis and the family at Roadkill Nights, and I think the average age there was about 30. It's amazing. So we know the sport is alive and well. And we just need to keep getting the young blood back in the sport. Alex is the future, and there's a bunch of other people just like her too that are going to take this thing to the next level.
It's an incredible thing, man. I'm genuinely excited about it. So, hey, let's touch on last couple of things. Let's just roll through just kind of your take on the weekend. Obviously, you got here, I think, sometime yesterday. You'll be here till the bitter end, I'm assuming? Or
I'll be here most of the weekend.
Okay, most of the weekend. Same here. What's your take on race day and the grind of Indy? Do you enjoy everybody kind of has a little bit of a different take on it, right? Some people like 5 qualifying sessions. Some people think it's overkill. I mean, do you like the drawn out format? What's your take on it?
not so much the format piece. The 4 or 5 runs don't really make a difference from my perspective. Now, it's a lot harder in the teams, and especially from a schedule standpoint, if you have a late run on Saturday and you're going to come back and do it again early on Sunday, and then Monday for eliminations. What I do love about being back on the Monday format is we are the only sports show in town on Monday, and that's the key. For me, it works out great having 5 runs because we actually bring customers in, and we'll do, for this room we're sitting in, I've got 30 guests that'll be in here for a product training on Friday that we'll take to the track. So if there wasn't a 5th session, I wouldn't be able to do that on Friday. So for me, it works out well, but I understand the plight of the teams as well as, how it plays out.
That's interesting. I've said interesting 57 times, I think, but that's okay. What's your take on using this, the sponsorship you have with JFR for a customer relations effort? I mean, you guys bring people out to the races. I know there's a hospitality component now that's relatively new to JFR's operation.
Yeah, we built a hospitality program with them, and I want to say it was 2015 was the first time that we debuted that. In typical John fashion, he fought me every step of the way until he realized that he didn't have to run all over the property to go to chalet tents. So that all he had to do was walk across the ropes. So all of a sudden, you went from this is a bad thing to we love this and we need to do more of it. But for me, and we're not the only ones. I know Monster does a lot with it, and a couple other partners. Cornwall Tools does a lot with it as well, bringing out customers. This is one of the best ways to engage potential business partners. And NHRA is such a unique environment. I've always made the analogy because most people understand NASCAR and understand the whole pit scenario. And I say, can you imagine taking your customers and putting them at pit wall, behind the pit wall for a pit stop and being that close? You can't do that, can you? I can do that in drag racing. I can take you there. I can bring small groups of you back to the race car. We can be as far as you and I are apart. I don't have that access any other place in drag racing.
That's a fantastic point, because I don't know where else you can provide somebody an experience like that. And you want to talk about getting someone to push your product. Like if they have the opportunity, right, and you just took them out to the racetrack and they've got a couple of different products on the counter, but Brian just spent the weekend taking them to the drag races, introduced them to John Force. Let's slide that blue jug forward.
And racing fans are known for being extremely brand loyal, especially drag racers. So.
Well, and on top of that too, your drag racing fan is, as we talked about, blue collar. They roll up their sleeves. They work on their vehicles. They own more cars than anybody else. I mean, the data shows it. And from a fan, we'll call it automotive DIY propensity, the big terms about it. But the reality, layman's terms, is automotive DIYers come to drag racing. They're passionate about it. They love this. They can relate to it because they're in their garage working on cars, and they can't necessarily emulate, but they can appreciate what goes on the other side of that rope. And to get that close to it, it gives them a lasting impression that they'll never forget.
There's no doubt. So do you bring like a big team with you, or what's kind of like your approach to the on-track or the at-track effort?
Yeah, it depends on the market. I mean, we've got a lot of great support from the team. Internally, I've got a handful of folks that'll come out, especially from our sales team, where they can spend some time with customers from event to event. But really, it's getting the access, getting them here to the track, getting them out to see it. John is John, and it's not just John. The fact is they have access to everybody. You're going to talk to Austin here in a few minutes. They have Austin comes through, Brittany comes through, Robert comes through. They all spend time with the customers. So it's not just, yes, Peak is on John's car, but if you look around, Peak's on every one of these race cars. And this is a whole team deal. This isn't just a John Force deal. This is a John Force racing deal.
It's pretty amazing. Brian, thank you so much for the time, dude.
Guys,
seriously,
I really appreciate it. Thank you
being
so much,
here and
Les.
the opportunity means a lot to us, man.
Yeah,
We won't soon
absolutely.
forget.
Appreciate having you guys here.
No, well, we're proud to be here, man. What a deal.
It's an honor, man.
Thanks, dude.
You may never leave.
I may move in. I don't know. What do you guys?
They got enough room here. We can find a spot.
Yeah,
they do have a spot here. Guys, I do want to thank you guys. I didn't bring any of my script read stuff. I'm massively unprepared. I forgot all about it. But I do want to remind you guys that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is brought to you by way of our friends at Stroud Safety. 100% made in America safety equipment. Log on to StroudSafety.com today. Make sure you tell them your friends at Drag Illustrated sent you. Holy cow, just one after another, guys. And I'm kind of ignoring you both. I apologize. We'll do some banter. We'll do some banter in a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for the NHRA Rookie of the Year. Good looking, clean cut stud of a kid.
we can't clap.
I feel. Let's clap.
Yeah.
Ready? Austin Prock.
Thank you guys for having me.
No problem, dude. What's going on, man?
Oh, not much. We got the trailers loaded up today. Got 2 more superchargers built for my race car this weekend and going to go stand on the gas about 7:30 Friday night.
All right, man, is it at all? I mean, obviously you come from a motorsports family. I actually know your uncle, Jeff Prock, better than I know.
He's a character.
Oh my God. I've got some Jeff Prock stories, but we'll save those. Those from like the early 2000s. But you're from a motorsports family, but I'm just curious, is this all as surreal to you as it is to us? I mean, that you're like got all these logos on your sleeves and you're going to drive a Top Fuel dragster this weekend and this is your job?
Yeah, it still is. You know, I dreamt of this as a kid ever since I could think. This is what I wanted to do, obviously. And, you know, when I was 24 years old, that dream came true in 2019 to drive for John Force Racing, the mega team of drag racing, the GOAT. So definitely still tickled to be in my shoes. And, you know, like I said, I'm living my dream and having a blast. I just want to do a good job for all of our sponsors, you know, Peak putting this on and, you know, try and get in this countdown and go for a championship.
Obviously, there's a tremendous amount of pressure, but, you know, as you just mentioned, Top Fuel is a whole different animal. You've seen this deal. What was it, 2019 that you won Rookie of the Year? So you've seen the sport of drag racing, obviously spent a little time on the sidelines during COVID, as so many people did. But can you kind of take us through the Top Fuel's crazy right now? I mean, like the responsibility that's on your shoulders and all these drivers. I don't know that a driver has ever been more significant than they are right now in Top Fuel.
Yeah, this is what we all wanted, though. Okay. You know, at least I did. Yeah. I love the cutthroat competition. You have to go up there and absolutely kill it every time. You know, if you have a 60 light anymore on race day, you're late. Like, I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. And, you know, I've got beat on a whole shot this year with a 62 light and you get sent home. You know, but I love it. You know, it gets you all amped up and you got to go up there and be perfect every time. And that's what drag racing is all about. It's
like the ultimate sudden death sport. And it's hard to believe that it could get any worse than it is, any tougher than it is. But man, this is an unusually competitive environment. When you look at Top Fuel right now, I mean, you mentioned that you like it this way. How does a guy like you hone your skills? I mean, one of the things that we hear from like bracket racers, pro mod, pro stock racers, you see a lot of those guys go race other classes, right? How many times can you see the tree? How many times can you be in that spot on the starting line? How can you further develop, get better, get more comfortable? So for a guy like you, where you can't just go fire up the car and take it to the local Jerkwater Dragway and make a couple hits,
that's
right?
Your favorite track, Wes.
It is. I say Jerkwater Dragway quite a bit. But how do you hone your skills? I mean, obviously practice trees and things like that, but you're seeing more and more racers training. You're seeing more of an athletic. I mean, you're a well-built, good-shaped kid. I mean, is that something that's in your mind, like trying to be an athlete?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I work out at the race shop. You know, I'm still working on the race cars. I still help build the superchargers. So I actually don't go to the gym.
You got to work out here.
Me and JT were looking for the gym here at John Force Racing earlier. Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing is just being mentally focused, you know, having that mindset, being confident when you go up to the starting line and you know, when you're confident, you're king.
100%. That's a good one. You're confident, you're king. I like that. Somebody write that down.
I just made that up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's solid, brother.
That's you royalties.
What's it like operating in the shadow, you know, so to speak, of people as accomplished as John Force, Robert Hight, Brittany Force? I mean, is that a thing where they're there, obviously, I'm sure, as someone to look up to, people to aspire to achieve what they have achieved, but is it at all overwhelming? Because that seems like it would be like playing basketball alongside LeBron James. You know? Yeah, I'm definitely stuck in the shadow, but I think that's a positive. You know, I have 3 world champions, you know, right around the corner from me to get any, you know, ideas, or if I need to talk or anything like that. So definitely blessed to have good coaches like that, you know, and to think that I get to race alongside of that caliber of driver, you know, is pretty cool. And, you know, like I said earlier, John's the greatest of all time on the track and with the fans, with the sponsors. And I just try and soak all that up and try and be maybe a minuscule version of that. I think you're headed in the right direction. I really do. I mean, I think you have a great personality. You're great with people. I've seen you interact, like you wheeling around here on that scooter thing today. You know, it's like everybody high five. Hey, you know the guys' names, know everybody. What has been the biggest, like, what's the biggest challenge for you? I mean, tabling drag racing, is it, you know, is there a part of this that you find difficult, or is it just the racing, or like dealing with sponsors, trying to sell yourself, so to speak, being the influencer? There's a lot of pressure that are on drivers. We talk about this when JT and I get in very heated debates comparing Michael Jordan to LeBron James. And
it's not really a debate.
Okay, I got it. But if you table that, right, Do you agree that like Michael Jordan never had to deal with near the scrutiny or the limelight that modern athletes have to? I mean, everybody's got a camera in their pocket. Everyone's always listening.
They'll grab a camera before they help you. Like,
Today's generation is brutal.
Yeah, it is.
It really is. I mean, is that a challenge to kind of lean into that, put yourself out there?
No, I think I've watched this sport for my entire life, so I think a lot of it comes natural, dealing with the fans, dealing with the sponsors. You definitely have to be on your toes because someone is always watching, I got caught punching the race car the other day. That didn't look very well, but, things just happen. Sometimes you get caught, but you definitely have to be on your P's and Q's and behave at all times because you really do never know who's watching.
One of the conversations that I've had throughout the course of the week with Brian from Peak was about, if John's on camera and he starts going off the rails and, drops an F-bomb or whatever happens, that they're in a position to like, hey, it is what it is. We sponsor John Force and he's a live wire and that might happen. But I mean, we've talked that's why he's so relatable. He's a regular guy. He's just like us, right? He uses some of the wrong words sometimes. What kind of feedback did you get? Like, you're not getting picked on from any of the brands that support you. Cause I got to be honest, when Bobby Bodie launched that helmet, listen, it's my responsibility to raise my kids. You know what I mean? And teach them right from wrong, not Bobby Bodie's, right? And I love seeing that level of passion. I argue all the time that type of, I'm not saying you can kick a hole in the door every weekend, but.
Or you could.
You could, but please do something out there to show us how much this means to you. Because it's hard to know.
I think it's definitely good to show emotion and show some passion, but there's definitely a fine line.
Right.
Force's line is probably a lot bigger because he's John Force. He can probably get away with a lot more than I could. But you just have to be that right balance of on the edge and a good boy.
Yeah, what a tough one to walk, man. So take us through this weekend. I know it's the last race of the countdown. Ton of pressure on you. I'm sure you're feeling it. But I mean, like, I look around here, and you mentioned if you're confident, you're king. You've got to have a lot of confidence. Is this almost like a little bit of a storybook? Like, this could be a movie. Like, if everything falls the way we know it could fall, and you've got the people around you, the parts and pieces to make it happen this weekend, and it would obviously change your season. Is that exciting? Like, the opportunity to come in and backs against the wall, it's do or die. Some people crumble in these moments, but I can tell you're the type of guy that's excited about it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this weekend. Like you said, we have all the parts and pieces. We have the funding. We have the sponsors. We have the, crew. We have a great crew. We have great crew chiefs. And, all the ducks just have to be in a row, and I think we can go win this thing. So definitely, I'm not feeling any pressure, honestly, because all I can do is go up there and do my job. And that's all I need to be focused on. And if I do that 100% and the race car goes A to B, I think we can turn on some win lights.
It's an exciting thing, man. What's so of the Indy experience, you've been there before. What is there a favorite part, that Friday night session under the lights, eliminations on Monday? I mean, what's is there a part of it that you enjoy the most?
Always as a kid, I always loved the shootouts and the call outs and things like that. So I'm not a part of that this year. I wasn't eligible because we didn't run last year. But that's always really cool, a little extra dough on the line. But I do love the Friday night session, and there's 25 dragsters here this weekend. So you're going to have to make a good run Friday night because it's probably going to set, the top half of the field. So hopefully we can go up there and run, a high 60 and see where our cards fall.
Man, I think we're going to see a slew of 60s. If it stays, I think it's supposed to get a little warmer, isn't it?
Yeah, but cool at night, I believe.
Yeah,
I think 8 o'clock, it's still going to be like 75 degrees or something. So
we're going to have some racetrack out there. Yep. I mean, it'll be fine.
Yeah, not too cool. When this place gets cool, it gets real tricky. So
as is so often the case, I think a lot of times people go, "Oh, it's like 48 degrees. They're going to be flying," and it's like, yeah, the tracks.
You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah,
here. It could be 100 degrees. It could be 50 or anything in between.
Yeah,
at this time of year in Indianapolis.
Well, let me ask you this: as a young guy, how old are you?
27.
Oh my
27
gosh!
Last week.
27 years old, unbelievable. What's your take on the state, Brian? You heard Brian and I talking about like the state of affairs with the sport of drag racing. I mean, when you look around, even with relatively fresh eyes, I know you've been a part of the sport for a long time. Do you feel the same level of enthusiasm? I mean, I feel like I go to these events and there's an energy. The fan turnouts we've seen the last couple of years, even during a global pandemic, was massively impressive. I mean, are you as excited about the future of drag racing as we are?
I am, absolutely. I think we're heading in a good direction.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's perfect right now, but I definitely think we're stepping in the right direction. Like you said, the fan turnouts have been really good, and there's nothing better than, rolling up to the water box and seeing a packed house. And the fans have been great, very supportive, and, NHRA fans are the best fans in my opinion. So I think we're definitely heading in the right direction, and hopefully we can keep on that path and keep growing this thing.
How wild was that Brainerd crowd? Sarah, did you go to Brainerd? Dude, it was bonkers.
Yeah.
I mean, it was almost overwhelming. You guys weren't there. Unfortunately, Brett and I went without you, but
shocker.
Sorry. But it was almost, I looked at it, it felt hard to believe. I mean, we're in like rural Missouri or rural Minnesota alongside some lake. I mean, you can hardly get gas up there, but or a hotel to stay in. But it looked like everybody in Minnesota was in that
because
pitside
they were
grandstand.
all in the zoo.
Did you go to the zoo?
I made one trip out there Saturday night. I was out there for about 30 minutes just to say I made a lap. And
because you got to get out of there.
I've got to go.
Yeah,
to that
you can
sometime.
get trapped in there very easily.
Oh yeah, especially a famous race car driver.
I might
People are
stay
trying
there.
to feed you dinner, handing out drinks.
It's so funny because you go to things like that and it's as if everybody forgot what just happened. You know what I mean? Like we spent the last 2 years locked in our houses wearing welding masks to go grocery shopping. And you go up there and everybody's handing you like half-eaten oatmeal cookies.
Yeah, try this.
People are doing shot skis out of cups that nobody knows who drank out of.
Yeah, they're
seasoned.
seasoned. They're called seasoned.
If you've been to the zoo and survived it, you probably have some kind of immunity built up.
Yeah, it's like a flu shot.
You'd be okay.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy. Well, man, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you guys are headed to the track, right? You're going to go get things parked and kind of start the process of getting...
Yeah, tomorrow we'll get up, be at the track 7:30, 8 o'clock, and set the awnings up. Got a little bit more work to do to fine-tune some things and stand on the gas.
You're not making any sort of like major changes to the hot rod at this time of the year, right? I mean, or you guys are experimenting with some clutch stuff? Or?
In the position we're in right now, we made some changes last week going into Brainerd. John Force Racing's brain trust came over, and we had a few powwows and sorted some things out. So we still went out first round in Brainerd, but we made 4 really competitive runs in qualifying, and we didn't hurt a single part in the engine, and that's been really part of our downfall. So I think we're in a good position. All the rod bearings, main bearings are starting to look real nice. We can start to lean on this thing again, and a happy engine's a fast engine, and everything runs off of the engine in this. That it's a centrifugal clutch, so if you don't have a consistent power plant, you're never going to go anywhere. So I think we're going to look really good this weekend. Wow,
that's very interesting. Whenever you guys get the bearings and you start to take this thing apart and it looks good, where are you guys going to start leaning on it? Is it a timing thing? Is it getting more aggressive with fuel? Or
it's all a balance. Yeah. We were making good power earlier this year. We were just going about it the wrong way. Okay. Whether it was too much compression or too much timing or too much blower or all three or, one or the other. So, it's just a balance, and all of these parts out here in drag racing act a little bit different. And, I've seen a lot of crew chiefs come into John Force Racing, and, if they've never dealt with these parts before, it can be tricky sometimes. So it's just a little bit of a learning curve, and I think we're going to be okay this weekend.
Pretty incredible, man. Austin, thank you so much for joining us, buddy. Best of luck this weekend. Be safe. And hey, man, I'm looking to see this chapter of the book or this next scene of the movie be as exciting as we just talked about, man.
Cool.
Be safe, brother. Appreciate you, dude.
Thanks.
Thank you, man. Man, I'm getting texts left and right, and I just want to say this really quickly here. It's crazy. I just got one from one of my dear friends, Chris Bell, and it's 15 years ago when I met you. I never would have thought you'd be doing your show at JFR. And
us either, Chris.
Us either. And I do want to remind everybody, there's been a whole lot of people that have supported this deal. I remember various times throughout the course of Drag Illustrated's life. I mean, we kicked the doors open on this business in October of 2005. Our first office was literally a remodeled chicken coop. We worked day and night and day. These two guys beside me have been through almost all of it with me. We've got an incredible team: Nate Van Wagnen, Nancy Coppin, Caroline Van, who else? Brett Underwood here in the house, brand new member of our team, been with us for just under a year now. Josh Hatchett. I mean, it's incredible, the group of people that have contributed to this, and I hope all you know how much I appreciate your involvement and helping us get to this moment. I remember when we did the first episode of this, we found out, I got an email from Facebook, and they're like, hey, we're beta testing live, going live, Facebook Live. And I remember telling JT, I walked out of my office into his and I said, hey, we got to do this. He's like, yeah, when are we going to do that? I'm like, now, because I want to be the first one to do it. And we have leaned into this.
Dabbling it too. We were looking at it and we'd watch it back and we're like, oh no, you can't post that.
Yeah, no.
Never watch your stuff.
Note to self, never watch any of your own videos because you won't post them. But I just want to give everybody that's been a part of this, all the customers that we've had over the years, at any given time, Drag Illustrated is doing business with over 200 companies in this industry. Each and every one of you, there's so many people that have believed in us. I think about guys like Mark Mickey at M&M Transmission in Jefferson City, Missouri, bought a full page ad in the very first issue of Drag Illustrated we ever printed, and he's been in every one ever since. 177 issues. Tony Kane and the guys at Hughes Performance, another been in the magazine with a full page since the beginning. And there's so many companies that believed in us and shared our vision and continue to share our vision for the sport of drag racing. And we could not be here. None of this would happen without all of you. And I think about it now. We used to be overwhelmed when all we had to do was the magazine. We went from the magazine to the magazine plus a website, from that to social media stuff to a daily updated newsletter, and the list goes on. And we started putting on events in 2017, and the PRI party that has become something of a landmark during the trade show season. To be doing all this stuff, I just couldn't be more proud of it.
Really cut into my golf time.
I know, man. Really cut into not too much. Every time I get on Facebook, you're drinking beer at a golf course.
That's
the brand.
Time. Yeah.
Oh, that's the brand. He's just keeping the brand going. But I just want to say thank you guys for everybody that's clicked like, whether it's once, even if you click the little mad face. I ain't mad at you. You can be mad at us, but we appreciate the support. We appreciate you giving us your time. Never in my wildest dreams, I never thought we'd be sitting around every Wednesday afternoon for the better part of a decade talking about drag racing, mailing a magazine to people all around the world. Getting the digital edition of the magazine got 60,000 plus downloads last month. It's just an incredible thing that's going on, and we couldn't do it without each and every one of you guys. So thank you both. Really. Brett, thank you, man. All the companies that have been a part of this. There's a bunch of them, and I really probably should have prepared a list now that I think about it. But hey, I think you guys know
it's a long list.
We got some good guests to get to, though.
You do, man. So without any further ado, I don't know where we're at timeline wise.
We're on time. Pretty much.
Clayton Murphy, Chassis Engineering. You supported us through thick and thin, man. One of my dear friends. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, oh my goodness, what a moment. This is a big deal for me. Maybe not for you. This is a big deal for me. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for the one, the only, Robert Hight. Woo!
How's it going, guys?
Good.
Swinging and ducking, brother.
Ready for the big weekend?
Yeah, man. I mean, how about you? Are you?
Definitely.
Do you, even after all that you've done and winning championships, winning races, do you still get up? Did you still get butterflies? Is this still?
Yeah, I think when you don't, it's time to quit.
Yeah.
So no, it's the biggest race of the year. So we're all pumped up for it. Can't wait.
It's amazing the amount of action that we saw here today. And I think most people are well aware. Yeah, let's scoot you over just a little bit. Sorry, we can hold hands if you want. But I don't know that people maybe totally understand that you oversee a good bit of this operation. And do you have a proud papa moment when you look around and the trucks roll out and you got guys out there wiping the floor down and cleaning everything up, getting them ready to come back? I mean, this is an incredible operation. Do you have to pinch yourself and go, holy hell, what have I got myself into?
I'm just a small part of it. There's a lot of good people here, and that's what it takes. Without good people around you, none of this happens. So everybody knows their job. None of them really need boss. It's just you see what we've done this year. We've had a good season with all of our teams, and nobody needs to be told what to do. Everybody's pulling the same direction. Everybody wants to win, and they get along. So that's a big part of it.
Whenever the car's running as well as it is right now, we've talked about it on the show multiple times, what we would consider like an MVP caliber season. First and foremost, I guess a good question is, do you feel that same way? You talk about having a good season, but I mean, you're having an incredible season. Do you feel that same thing? I mean, are you satisfied with what you guys have accomplished so far this year?
Oh, definitely. This is a career year. It's what you dream about. But the way it works and the way the countdown works, it all resets after Indy, and what you've done makes no difference. Okay. You have one bad race in Reading, Pennsylvania, and you could be at the bottom. Okay. So it's, from here for, I'm very, very happy, very excited about what we've done. But after Indy, you got to forget about that and keep working toward the next 6 races. And it's not going to be easy. There's a task is coming up, running good. I think some guys may have been, holding parts and saving parts that worked for them early in the year, which is a smart move, because what really matters is the last 6. So I think it's going to be a dogfight. There's 5 or 6 funny cars that are going to fight for this championship, and just glad to be a part of it.
What do you make of? You mentioned saving parts. It seems like there's more strategy at play than I really ever recall, right? There's always been something of a strategy since the advent of the countdown to the championship in NHRA's playoff system. But now with this world of buying issues, purchasing issues, shipping issues, it seems like there's a lot of strategy at play now. Do you enjoy that? I mean, obviously I saw a note on the wall like, hey, there's a long lead time on head gaskets. Be wary of this. And there's a long lead time on, grade 8 fasteners or whatever. But does that almost add a level or a layer of complication that a guy like you that's overseeing some of this operation can kind of get into?
Yeah, it's we could see when coming out of the pandemic that there was going to be issues. You shut down the world for a year, maybe a little over a year, and it's hard to expect that you're going to get things on time and everything's going to go back to normal. So we were ahead of it, and we have a lot of parts sitting down here ready to go.
We saw that today.
Did you? All right.
The clutch disc room.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive there.
Yeah.
It's crazy. How many did they say there was?
I don't know if we're supposed to say the number, but they said they don't have enough. It's an entire room full of clutch discs.
Lanny said you can't have enough.
He said you literally can't have enough.
No, we try to stay a year ahead. Okay.
Really?
What's in that room will be run next year. And, all of our teams are good for this year. But, you got to stay ahead of it. And, every batch is different. And it's and we even sell some discs. You come to the end of a batch and there's not very many left, or there's some that are hard or soft, and you end up selling them off. But we hang on to stuff as long as we can, because you never know when you might need it.
True.
It's kind of
one of the interesting things Lanny said is they get down to this time of the year, Indy, the countdown. They figured out which ones are the good ones and which ones aren't, as far as parts or clutch discs, and those go in the cars now when it's crunch time. I thought that was interesting to hear him say.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was talking about earlier, when, teams might be holding parts, stuff that worked for them early in the year. There's no reason it won't work for them at the end. Preserve the stuff.
Yep.
So fair. It's really is odd to think about, because I think when people look at the sport of drag racing, it's really easy to think that it's like this: bolt everything back together, just like it was, put the pieces back in and to go stand on the gas. But it's so much more nuanced than that. And seeing Lanny down there, like checking out different clutch discs and, the edge on this floater is not right. And to think about the level of detail, and you have a unique appreciation for it, because you're a real deal drag racer that did it the right way, came up the hard way, worked on these cars. Can you kind of take us through that journey a little bit and tell us some stories? Weren't you like a right side cylinder head guy at one point?
I started as a clutch guy on John's
Okay,
car.
started as a clutch guy.
I have done every job on the car, but I did the clutch for John's car for quite a few years. And
how'd that come to be?
Well, I was working on another team, and Bernie Federley, I'd met him, and he came to me and said, hey, we're looking at hiring a new crew guy, adding an extra guy to the team, and we have to go to a match race in Canada. And our clutch guy is from Australia, and he can't go to Canada. So we need you to come and learn the clutch, and we're going to have you do the clutch, at the match race.
Was it like a 4-disc clutch back then? Or
it was a 4-disc clutch.
Yeah,
we stuck with the 4-disc forever and won championships with it. And then when Coyle first went to a 5-disc, he went a 10th quicker than anybody had ever gone. It just shows you how smart the guy was. But anyway, I didn't have a clue once this match race was over what my job was going to be. I might just be polishing wheels and cleaning tires. But our next race was Denver, right after this match race in London, Ontario, Canada. And I show up, we get there, the team, we set up, Coyle and Bernie fly in, and they pull me aside and they said, you're our new clutch guy. So from there forward, I did the clutch on John's car, and we won a championship every single year I did it. Not because of me. We just had a great team, and everything went just perfect back
damn
then.
near a decade straight.
Yeah.
I try to remind people of that sometimes. Yeah, people don't really appreciate, maybe because we don't have the media back then. We had good media, don't get me wrong, television, broadcasting partners, but it doesn't seem like those stories were told as effectively as maybe they are now, where it's like you can't find that's a dynasty. That's a real deal sports dynasty that you were a part of. So, okay, so you're doing the clutch on the car, which I would argue is one of the, if you want to talk about putting a guy through the ringer, I mean, you got the fingerprints burn off your hands. You spend every day cover it in clutch dust. Just cutting clutch discs is not fun. Like just cutting discs, like on a pro stock car. Like I look at Chase Freeman sometimes and I just like pray for him because that's just a rough existence.
Yeah,
right?
It's kind of like being in a coal mill. Or a coal mine. And we there's more to it than just that. Okay, at John Force Racing, we have a dyno that tests clutch discs. That same blower dyno you see tests clutch discs. So I spent many a winter, day after day, testing clutch discs.
So whenever you're running the blower dyno or that dyno on the clutch disc, how does that work? If you can tell us. So you're testing like coefficient of friction or like see when it. Okay.
Yep. And in the beginning, it was you had to take the clutch can on and off, just like you did the race car. Every time. It was a 2-disc clutch. Now we've modified it. It's still a 2-disc clutch, but it's off the end, and the bell housing, kind of hinges open. Made it a lot easier rather than. So
back then, though, you were an impact.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And you had to adjust it every run, adjust the stands.
Yeah.
Now the new one is all air pressure plate.
Okay.
And it's you don't have to adjust it.
So what was the next progression? So you're doing the clutch on John's car, and I mean, at what point in your career or in this journey did you go, I can drive one of these sons of bitches?
I never said that I could do that. I wanted to give it a try because I hadn't come up through the ranks and been sportsman racer or anything like that. So I was always asking John questions about driving, and he like John is, he just doesn't get a lot of things when you're talking to him. It's right in front of him. And he's like, well, I never knew you wanted to. It's like, well, you think I just ask you all these questions, for fun, just to, pass time? And he says, well, you might not even like it. You ought to go to Holly school and see if you like it. And it was, I knew who wouldn't like this.
I'm going to like this.
Yes. Yeah. So I went and I made 6 runs in the alcohol funny car, got my license, and then they started putting me in John's car on Monday. But honestly, I think the only way I got to where I'm at today is understanding the car mechanically. Okay. Because I didn't have any seat time. I didn't have, my daughter, she's been doing it for 10 years already, and staging a car and racing. There's a lot to that I missed out on. But understanding the race car and being competitive, it all helped.
Do you think that I see a lot of people, and it's like the folks that I see climb in a race car and have some sort of natural feel for it are typically people that, even if they don't have a tremendous amount of experience in a car or any at all, if they've been a student of it and they've watched somebody make 10,000, you see the kids that have been racing with their dad their whole life and they've never driven a junior dragster because they were racing with dad. Right? That opportunity didn't exist. Then they get in the car and they seem to acclimate quickly. I think it's just because you can learn, like Frank Hawley talks about it a lot, the visualization process and just going through those motions over and over and over again. You don't necessarily have to be like, for those, for the kids out there, think about that, because you don't got to be in the cockpit of the car to be running through those motions.
That's exactly right.
Because I think a lot of people are like, well, I can't ever get good at it because I don't have the opportunity to practice because I don't have a top fuel car or I don't have a supercom dragster or whatever. Man, you can go through I can't count how many times I've dropped the bomb on a pro stock car and grabbed second gear in my mind. You know what I mean? Or grabbed 200 or 300 pounds of brake pressure, hit the line in my mind. You know what I mean? And I think that that's something that people sleep on.
Yep. I'll give you a good example of that. When I went to Holly school, Erica Enders was in my class.
Wow.
And she drove an alcohol funny car. First day, she had a heck of a time. Okay. I felt bad for her. But you could just see how bad she wanted to do it and paid attention. And I'll bet you she went back to her room that night because it was in Gainesville, Florida, and she probably made 10,000 runs in her head. She came back the next day and it was like, forget the day before. She was already where I was at the second day. Wow. Just from going over it in her head and doing it, and the desire to do it, wanting to do it so bad. And I'm like, where did this girl come from? You could see right then she could do it. Okay. And she wants to do it, and she's a champion.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about a young lady that I think wants to drag race as bad as she wants to take her next breath.
Exactly.
I mean, it's an incredible thing. So let's, so you're testing on Mondays, kind of getting your feet wet, getting the hang of this deal. When did it seem like a possibility that maybe this could actually happen?
So, you start off going, making short runs and a typical John Force communication. We're in Houston and I'm going to take it to 1,000 foot. And back then we raced quarter mile. So go to 1,000 foot. And John just kept coming up to me and saying, don't worry about the chutes. Don't worry about the chutes. And I thought it was kind of odd, but I'm like, but what he was trying to get at was make sure you drive the car to 1,000 foot and do everything right. Okay. And back then you probably didn't need the chutes, but it would have been a darn good time to start practicing the chutes. Right. So I remember I went to 1,000 foot, clicked it off, and I went to do the chutes. I'm like, no, John says, don't worry about it. And then it's like, oh shit, this thing is I got to get this thing stopped. Okay. And it's like, he should have never told me that. I should have automatically wanted to pull the chutes, and that should have been the start of pulling the chutes. So then I go to Topeka and I get my license. And it was like, I heard him on the radio tell me, hey, you ran quick enough to get your license and you got it. And I was so excited. Right. And first person down there's John on his scooter. And shakes my hand and congratulations. But it was like such a buzzkill. He's like, this doesn't mean anything. Okay. It doesn't mean that you're going to be driving for me or that I can sell you to sponsors or any of this stuff.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John. Jeez, exactly. First the chutes.
Yeah.
Now this.
So
he pulled the chutes again.
Yeah. And, luckily we had good partners here and the Auto Club. When John went to them, the CEO, Tom McKernan, he says, well, I'm not going to tell you how to run your race teams, just like I'm not going to listen to you tell me how to run the Auto Club. If you think this kid can do it, we're good with it. So I've been with them ever since.
How amazing is it, especially in this climate, right? To have had, John's obviously had relationships like that in the past, Castrol. And we talk about people like Kenny Bernstein and his relationship with Budweiser, 30 years. What's it like? What's it mean to you personally? Because to have someone believe in you the way that Auto Club has and stand by your side and be wearing blue and black for all these years, that's rare air, Robert.
No, it'd be pretty tough to say that somebody else has ever had this many years to start their career with the same sponsor. And especially in today's, culture where it's tougher and tougher. Okay. For them to find, figure out ways to spend money. There's a lot of ways to advertise and market, and they believe in John Force Racing and NHRA drag racing. So no, I'm very, very proud of that. And, we're going to be with them, into the future.
It's very exciting. And it's inspiring, I think, for us, because when we look around and go, man, there are some companies that clearly see value here, that are excited to be here, that are passionate about being here. We were just talking with Brian from Peak, and it's like you can sense his passion and enthusiasm for the sport of drag racing, specifically all of motorsports, but specifically drag racing. And it's like, it's just in this day and age of hearing everybody boo-hoo, right, about corporate America or whatever's going wrong and this, that, and the other, it's nice to be reminded that there are plenty of people in powerful positions that feel drag racing is a strong market.
Exactly. And, we got to continue to do our job for them and work hard and maybe work harder than we ever have. Okay. It's, you got to adapt and do whatever it takes.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about, am I running over you? I've ignored you guys again.
No. This is a great interview.
Well, we're trying, man. For me, as someone who grew up going racing with my dad, and putting the awning up, like I used to have nightmares about putting the awning up. I remember my dad got his first pro awning because I always thought I liked the 10 by 20 pop up, right? When we were bracket racing, I can do this by myself. It's easy. Then I remember my dad being so proud. He came home with his first, it wasn't a stacker. It was a 48-foot gooseneck trailer, but it had a pro style awning. And putting that thing up,
but it's worth it though.
Oh, it's worth it when you have it,
and you're not banging into the poles of the easy.
But just climbing on the roof of that fucking trailer, it's 6,000 degrees. It's me and my moron brother. You know what I mean? And it's just us.
Yeah.
And it's just going to the races is a ton of work.
Yeah,
people getting the pit mat out, getting the car up on Pro Jacks. I'm getting screamed at the whole time as I'm getting it out because I scratched something with a Zeus fastener or a Zeus
tool. You're still getting screamed at.
Yeah. Or I didn't, and I'm still getting screamed. Or more, if I had my hands in my pocket, my dad would push me down. Right? Because lazy people have their hands in their pocket, right? So find something to do with those things, as he would say, right? And but that's kind of what everybody experiences. That's the drag racing upbringing, right? And to know that you went through all of that, I just think it has to be inspiring to some of these young kids out here that are going, you know what, maybe I don't have a hot rod right now, but I'm working on my buddy's car, or I'm volunteering on somebody's car. I think it's just a breath of fresh air that you're someone who doesn't come from infinite wealth. You're not, you know, the son of a billionaire or whatever the case may be. You went out here, you threw your hat in the ring, you paid your dues, and it ultimately paid off.
This is exactly what people need to hear.
It is.
People need to hear these backstories behind the drivers. It gives them something to relate to, because maybe they had the perception that you came from money and you didn't work your way up through it. And this is just one more thing that a fan can look at and go, man, I like that.
How many new fans you gain every year that haven't heard your story, that are eager to learn about it.
Most of those fans stand behind the ropes and see this fun job of tearing an engine and a race car apart and putting it back together 4 times, and how fun that would be. They don't have a clue, what all goes into it. Getting to the races, set up, tearing down, testing, fixing everything you broke,
being gone from family.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. It's
drag racing's a lot of work for 4 seconds on track.
But if you love it and you have the passion, it doesn't even seem like work. It's worth it.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think of, we were talking with Austin a little bit, and I think this exists in Funny Car. We've seen the driver has never had more of a hand in this, the success of a race team than I think right now. I mean, obviously, maybe the cars had more levers and were harder to drive and whatever way back when, but the expectation that's on the shoulders of a driver in 2022 are unparalleled. It's incredible. The competition that exists on the starting line. I think there's a competition that's pretty intense in the staging lanes. Because, I mean, you see teams like yourself where you go up there and you get to a point where you're starting to win races before you're in them, because people are in their heads, right? You got a target on your back. You're the guy that they're swinging for. They know they've got to make a good run because you're going to. What's your take just on the state of affairs when it comes to the talent behind the wheel of these cars right now?
Well, it used to be, I would say 70% car, 30% driver. And, if you had a good car that go down the track, you'd win races. And anymore, that's not the case. And I think it really has to do with the rules. Okay. Everybody they're so tight, so close, which makes everything you do as a crew member more and more, you have to be more and more precise, perfect, and finesse, and just polish everything to where it's perfect. That's how you kind of set yourself above the others. But I would say it's that 70-30 might be gone. It may be closer to 60-40. You have to have a good car, but I've been in some really close races this year. Winter Nationals with Ron Capps, the race in Seattle in the final with J.R. Todd. If you're just not on your game on the starting line, I could be down to 4 wins. So it's a big deal. And, it's not going to get any easier. And it's probably going to be tougher, the last 6, because everybody's going to step up. Everybody's going to have good cars. And whoever's at the top at the end of the year is going to earn this one.
This year's exciting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I'm not saying that like any other year, and I think you have to kind of be careful, because I don't ever want to discredit anybody's accomplishments, but it really does feel unique. I mean, you look at Top Fuel and you got a guy like Steve Torrance, reigning champion, 4 straight championships, was winless up until the very last race, right? When you look at that and you think about the level of competition that exists in nitro racing right now, it's a lot. I mean, holy moly. What's the difference between a good driver? I mean, what makes a good driver at this point in time? I do think, the cars they've come a long way. Technology's come a long way, more consistent maybe than they used to be, or obviously more than they used to be. What makes a good driver in 2022, specifically in the nitro ranks?
Well, I think he's, you got to be able to focus and, not let anything bother you. You got to be ready for anything, because you can win pedaling. And you've got to just be ready for everything. Your head in the game. You got to leave on time. You got to just react to everything that the car does as it does it, and do it better than the guy in the next lane. You can't be cocky. This is so humbling, this sport. Oh. Just when you think you've got it figured out, it bites you. So it's like, I always think I have more and more to learn. And Frank Hawley taught me that. It was like one statement he made: there's never a perfect run. You can pick every single run apart. If you keep doing that, you're going to get better. because you're trying for perfection, and you're not just, oh, that was a great one. No, something I could do better. And if you have that attitude, I think you'll continue to grow and get better.
And there's a fine line between cockiness and confidence. We had Austin on earlier, and he had a great line that if you're confident, you're king. And I think confidence is a key component of a driver as well. And when you got a hot rod like yours, it has to increase your confidence. What's that do for you as a driver to know you've got Jimmy Prock and you've got this awesome team and this awesome hot rod that you're piloting?
Oh, it makes all the difference in the world. I'm driving better than I did when we were struggling, okay? Because then you think, and Frank Manzo taught me that one time. He was like, you can only do so much. He knew our car was struggling, and I'd go up there and I'd, try to chop the tree down, and I'd red light. And it's like, he's like, you can only do so much, okay?
Because you're trying to make up for it.
You make up for your car. You can't do that. You can't pull a rabbit out of a hat, okay? Right. You just got to be steady. And Frank Manzo, when he talks, you listen.
That's the truth.
That's a good one.
You're staring down the barrel of potentially your 60th win. I've heard you mention that throughout the course. That's kind of been the theme of 2022, that you want to get that knocked out. Tell me real quick before we let you go, like let's table 60th. Tell me about the first one. I mean, after all we just discussed, right, and all the heartache and the trials and tribulations, don't pull the chutes. Don't worry about the chutes. Don't. This may not work out. What was that? I don't even know where was the first one, and just take us through that experience.
So it was my fourth race in Houston, and we qualified number one, and we were doing well. Okay, a lot of people were surprised.
Yeah, fourth race in.
Yeah, and we had qualified number one at Gainesville, I think, the previous race, and you could see things were working.
Yeah,
but to put it all together, in one day, I remember I think I raced John in the semis and Cruz in the final. Okay, so there's two world champs right there, and all I remember is hearing Bernie Federley. I mean, I remember first off, I'm backing up from the burnout. And back then, we didn't have mechanical clutch pedals. It was just a pedal attached to the cross shaft. So it didn't have any mechanical advantage at all. So it was actually pretty hard to push the pedal and neutralize the clutch. But I was so nervous, my leg kept shaking. And it was just shaking and shaking. I'm like, okay, you better gather it up here, because you want to win. You're not going to win like this, okay? You got to get this in check. And I focused, and I remember, we were in the left lane, and the left lane in Houston back then wanted to pull you out, and it did. Out 100 feet, I could feel the car and see I was getting over, and I had to get it back in the groove. But I remember pulling the chutes and hearing Bernie Federley on the radio saying, "You got him," and it was the coolest thing. I mean, and all of a sudden now I'm down in the shutdown area all by myself. All the celebrations going on back at the starting line. That's where all the fun's happening. And it's like, now it dawns on me, I've got to get out and do an interview. And, I wasn't, and I'm not saying I'm good now, but I wasn't.
Oh, you're doing great. I think you're great.
Yeah. No, and it was like, it was amazing. I just couldn't believe that I'd actually done this. And
you had all that adrenaline.
Yeah.
And then more adrenaline on top of it.
And until you actually win, until you win a race, you don't know if you can do it. Are you cut out for it? Are you gonna choke? Championship, the same thing. Once you win a championship, now you believe in yourself, confidence, like you were talking about. You can do it again. So the first of everything you do is a huge accomplishment.
Did you sit in the car for a minute? Was there like a moment there where you still got your helmet on, and before you flipped the red, white, and blue up?
I was ready.
You were out
I was
in a
ready
second
to get out and just.
Celebrate.
I mean, couldn't even believe it. Okay, just in disbelief. Did this really happen? It's like, but I can hear Bernie Federley to this day. That voice and hearing him say that, and he's the guy that hired me. It was pretty cool.
You got him. Well, Robert, we're proud to have had you today. So thank you so much for the time, and I hope maybe that 60th comes this weekend. I can't tell John that. He'll be here in a minute. We'll be in a fist fight.
Hear that. But just a prediction, okay? If I want to win a championship, I'm going to have to end the year at 62, 63. So
the pressure's on, man.
See what happens.
You got what, 6, 7 left?
Yeah.
You got to win a little, about half of them.
Yep.
All right, man. Well, from your mouth to God's ears. All right.
Be
safe, brother. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yep. Appreciate it.
Holy moly, guys. How are we doing? You doing all right?
Awesome. Good.
What's the crowd like online? We doing good?
Loving it, man.
All right.
Loving it.
Everybody doing good?
Hight interview. That was a good interview. where you get
very good.
You get to see a side of them that we don't normally get to see.
And it's cool funny. Stories. I don't ever plan out questions in advance, which might be a questionable decision.
You don't really plan out anything.
I don't plan out anything in advance. But I thought, man, I'm tired. I don't want to talk about the state of affairs or like what's happening right now. I want to do some bullshitting, right? I want to tell some stories, right? So it's no, I'm so glad because like I'll never forget him telling that story about Bernie Federley. I mean, I can't imagine that voice in my ear. You got him. Right? What a moment.
Or don't worry about the shoots.
Don't worry about the shoots. I'm going to have to ask John, like, what was the point? I don't know about that question, or I don't know about that statement. That seems like an odd one. Don't worry about the shoots. No big deal. All right, guys. Well, hey, I want to remind you guys, huge shout out to Mark Beatty and the team at Redline Oils. Huge supporter of ours. I don't have my fancy script to read, but I just want to remind you guys, log on to redlineoils.com. Make sure you tell those guys that the gang at Drag Illustrated sent you. Huge supporters of the show, and we appreciate them very much. I was hoping to see Mark this weekend, but he had to go to a motocross race, and I sent him my condolences. I don't do other racing, drag racing.
They might have to cancel the event if Mark's not going to be here.
I was a little bummed out about it myself, but he was here last week and he went and saw a bunch of folks. And I think he's going to get Cruiser. We were just talking about Cruz Pedregon. I think Cruz is going to be on the show. Reminder that we're going to actually be at Cruz Pedregon's open house tomorrow night. I believe it kicks off at 6:00 right here in Brownsburg, Indiana. Come see us. Somehow, some way, I'm going to be there signing autographs, which is a weird thing to say out loud. I was thinking, should I have gotten headshots taken?
Probably glamour shots. Maybe you can run to the mall and get those done.
I was going to see, maybe let's go to the mall and see if I can't get some glamour shots tonight. I have
saved glamour shots of all kinds of people from back in the day.
Oh, I know. You like to post them on Facebook on their birthday.
Dude. Yeah, it's great.
Oh, my gosh. All right, guys. Well, hey, without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to the 2017 NHRA Top Fuel World Champion, the 2013 NHRA Rookie of the Year, a driver with 15 wins, 38 number one qualifying efforts, been at the top of the qualifying sheet at the U.S. Nationals on a couple of occasions. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Brittany Force.
Woo! Welcome.
Hey, Brittany.
Welcome to the show. What's going on? Hey, thanks for letting us come to your house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do you typically live? In California?
I'm based out of right now this season based out of North Carolina and California.
Okay.
And then I'm here a lot and then out of hotels.
Yeah, I know. I mean, so as a young woman who's obviously had an incredible career in drag racing, like, is it still hard to kind of like, that is a rough existence. I mean, let's be honest. Don't get me wrong. You're driving a top fuel car, lots of excitement. You're sponsored by Monster Energy drink. I mean, it's a big deal, but is the grind of traveling all the time, living out of a suitcase, like, does that have moments where it taxes you?
Oh, absolutely. It gets tough. You live out of a suitcase. You're in a different hotel every single weekend. You don't know how many times I walk up to room 204 and I'm like, that's the room I was in last weekend, not this weekend. It's just you're in a different city every single weekend. I can't complain because my guys drive to the races. I fly into majority of them, but it's that is one of the tough things. But I have a close-knit team. We're all pretty dang close. We hang out outside of the racetrack. We do dinners. We try to go in early to some events and do the tours thing. Yeah. So that definitely helps. And then having, it is such a, John Force Racing is such a family sport. I have my dad out here. That definitely helps. I miss Courtney being out here, having my sister, just a trailer down. But I do love it. It when you end up in that winner circle, it makes up for the tough days. But I've kind of always been around the travel, so I'm kind of used to it. But there are weekends where I just want to get home and I want to sit on my couch and I don't want to do anything.
What is your favorite place? Being that you guys have traveled all over creation, and I'm taking this like on a non-racing pathway, but since we're talking about travel, what's your favorite place to go in the United States?
Are you talking racetracks?
Yeah, no, just like what's your favorite city?
Favorite city? My family always goes up to Lake Tahoe, Nevada.
Yeah,
I love it. Winter, summer, it's our one getaway. I really love Lake Tahoe. But now if you're talking cities, I'm a New York girl. I love Manhattan. I love New York City.
Isn't New York special? I haven't been in a hot minute either. It ripped my heart out.
We used to race in Englishtown, and we'd always sneak in for a few days and do the whole tourist thing, see plays, whatever we wanted to do. And we're not there anymore. So
that's probably the track that breaks my heart the most as far as not being on the tour, because I did the same thing. And like when you land at Newark or JFK, you just feel so small. You know what I mean? Like I think I tell people all the time that if you haven't been to New York City, like maybe all you've seen is Home Alone 2, right? You need to go to that city, right? Because it's the greatest movie of all time, Home Alone 2. It is.
It's one of the best Christmas movies.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like that whole hotel scene and eating the room service, whatever. You have to go to New York City, like, because it does, like, it's nice to be reminded of how big the world is and feel small and insignificant. Like, that doesn't sound like a powerful experience, but it is. Like, to see all this humanity, you know, it's a big, big place. And I remember flying in and being so excited to go. Obviously, Old Bridge Township Raceway Park is an incredibly historic facility, but man, being able to sneak into the city for a couple days, it was always fun. I miss it badly. All right, what's your favorite hotel?
Favorite hotel? That would be, we stay in Johnson City for the Bristol, Tennessee race. Johnson City. It's the Carnegie Hotel. It's this old hotel. They say it's haunted, but it's beautiful. There's this big library downstairs. There's this big old school bar and a restaurant. And it's just one of the most unique hotels because the history behind it. So you pull up to the thing and it's just beautiful. So that's definitely one of my favorite ones.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I took it that way.
I got to go Took what way?
Just talking about hotels and travel now.
You said you were ready to shoot
my other
shit.
one would be Sonoma. Love Sonoma. We stay in downtown Petaluma.
Have you stayed at the Conrad in downtown Indy? Have you ever stayed at that hotel?
Nope.
That's probably one of my all-time favorites.
It's
You need
really
to make
cool.
sure you go there. It's probably one of my all-time favorite hotels.
We're not staying there this weekend.
Yeah.
Where are you this week?
We're at like
We're like Embassy Suites.
It's pretty nice though. Full service.
It is nice. It is nice.
Full service, which is mandatory
Food
for
was
me.
good.
Food was decent. We
Bar
drove
was
around
good.
for a half hour
Okay,
trying to
where's
find
your
a place
worst
to eat
hotel
last
you've
night.
ever stayed at?
Oh shit. Okay.
Budget
So
host
Let's do
Kirksville.
well, there's a couple. I was in, and I can't tell you the name of it. My dad was racing in NMCA Pro Street. And this is a big moment for us. My dad had built at the time what was like a Mountain Motor Pro Stock car. And it was my dad's first ever brand new construction race car. This was a huge moment for him. But we ran it with mufflers on it and like working headlights and taillights to qualify for Pro Street in an MCA, which was like a mid 6-second, quarter mile, 220 mile hour class. So we went to NMCA Columbus in Ohio. And my dad, we didn't get hotels. I mean, we slept in the truck or we slept in the trailer. I mean, it was pretty horrific. But I remember pulling over. He was too tired to keep driving. And we were outside Columbus somewhere. And we couldn't get into the track, you know, because a lot of back then we'd never really experienced this. That was going big time racing for us. So we couldn't get into the track. So we were going to just park in the pits and sleep in the rig or whatever. So we couldn't get into the track, gates locked. So we're driving around trying to find a place to stay. And we found one of these roadside motel deals and went and knocked on the door and got a room. I'm sure it was $18 or $20. And we all crashed in this one room. I'm talking orange shag carpet, like stained sheets, paneling on the wall. There was a hot tub out in front of this place, which they told us we could use if we wanted.
That was a spa.
I walked by it and we just like lifted the lid up and it was like as green as that Monster logo, right? And I'm still scarred by it. I don't think it had a name. It was just like a building with 4 doors, to be honest. It was probably one of the scariest experiences of my adult life. I had one other. We stayed in a sketchy place in Nebraska one time, and my dad was so afraid someone was going to steal the truck and trailer that he slept in the back seat of the dually, right? And we slept in the hotel, which, God bless you, Dad. I appreciate you letting us have the double, you know, sweetie. Where was the worst hotel you've ever stayed at?
I'll have to go back to my sportsman racing days. So I was either in Super Comp or AFL. It was my sister and my mom. Fallon, Nevada. This was a little, can I say shithole?
Yeah.
It was the scariest place I'd ever been to. You wouldn't walk barefoot. You'd walk.
Is that like
shoes
near
on.
Vegas or something?
We were racing out of, I think the track's in Fallon.
Oh, wow.
Fallon, little tiny drag strip. And scare. Even the guy that checked us in, I thought might murder us. It was one of those just wide open, like your door barely locks. The lights they didn't even have normal lights in the bathroom. They were like black lights and red lights, like not even your normal clear lights that you put.
You definitely don't want to
Like,
have
screw
black
it.
lights.
That's a bad sign.
That's a bad
It
sign.
was scary. We never went back. And then I'll have to go with Topeka, Kansas. Ooh.
Oh, man.
I've had some trouble there year after year. We're finally in a new place. I'm not going to throw the hotel under the bus, but
I will in a second.
I brought home bed bugs, and that was a terrifying experience.
Really?
Yeah. I'm now friends with our pest control people because I got on the phone with him. I'm like, I need you to meet me at my house. My suitcase might have bed bugs. He met me at my house, said, luckily in California that day, it was like 102 degrees. He's like, leave your suitcase outside. Just take everything off. Leave your suitcase outside. and don't bring it in for, the heat will bake them. It'll cook them. I left it out there for like 4 days. All my makeup, everything was melted. Everything was ruined. But terrified of bed bugs though. Yeah. Terrified. I was covered in bites. My guys were like, "What's wrong with your face?" Like you got they bite in like lines, like linear bites. Oh, no. Oh yeah, like all over I had these weird bites all over my face.
And if anybody is watching along has had bed bugs, please share your story with us, because I like the way this is heading. Like leaving your bags outside for 4 days. That's
a good tip. We're helping people on the show.
We're trying to save lives. Yep. That's what we're doing, promoting drag racing and saving lives, killing bed bugs.
I even invested in this it kills, I guess, all insects, but it's like this tent thing that pops up that you put a heater, because I was so terrified it's going to happen to me again. I'm going to bring them into my house. And once you get them in your house, they say it's very tough to get bed bugs out. So I invested in this like tent thing, and you put your luggage, your purse, whatever, and you
So do you do that every weekend?
No, I've never used it.
Just like going into containment and then
going in. Well, just got home from the Hampton. Better fire up the bed bug cooker.
Bugs on the outside of it, and the thing lights up. It's ridiculous.
Oh, I don't. God.
Well, I'm going to Google it. Yeah, we got one for sale.
I'll throw it up on OfferUp.
So I've got I can keep going down this road, which may well be the way to do it. But I do want to talk about just the year you've had, the run that you guys are on as a team. You talked about your guys being close knit. It really, watching from afar, Brittany, it's easy to think that like something special is happening. Do you sense that? I mean, we were talking about you've got like 9 of the 10 fastest runs in the history of drag racing. I think maybe all the quickest runs in the history of drag racing, or damn near it. Like, do you sense that as well? Like that, maybe we're a part. Now, granted, you've won a world championship, but like there's something is happening.
Yes, this team is very unique. I've been with a lot of different teams, a lot of different crew chiefs, and there's something about this team. When I say it is a team effort, it is really a team effort. Before we go out on Sunday, our crew chief will sometimes, David Grubnick, will pull us into a meeting and say, "Hey, this is what I'm thinking. I think we have a shot where we can really push it, to get us lane choice. What do you guys think? Should we play it safe? Ask like our opinion on what we think, and we all take a vote." And I've never been that involved in making decisions on race day or making decisions going into qualifying. Going into Indy this weekend, we're doing that call out. It's not a David Grubnick pick. It's the entire team has to vote on one person, and majority will win. So it's very involved. It's such a great group of guys. And one of the things that really stands out to me is I've been with them since 2019, pretty much this whole group with a couple additions, but it's pretty much the same guys since 2019. They hung in with us after, 2020, John First Racing, took a step away with COVID and everything going on, and they stood by John First Racing, and they returned with us in 2021. And they're an incredible group.
That says a lot.
Yeah, that they stood by John First Racing, took a step back, and waited to maybe we never came back. Nobody knows. You don't know where the future's going. And they stood by us and returned with us, and then we came back strong. And this season, I feel like sometimes it takes a couple years till you find your niche and you get in with your team. And this year's been really awesome for us. Last year we ended up 2 in points. We had a great season, but we couldn't really produce on race day. We'd have all those number 1 qualifiers, but we'd, go out early on race day. This year, we've seemed to change that around. We could run really well in the heat on race day, and we've already had 4 wins this season. So we're in a good place. I'm looking forward to this countdown taking off.
When you look around, we just talked about you traveling all the time, and you've been around this a lot. That's unique, right? That kind of, I don't know that I've heard a story like that ever before. Do you believe that's unique? The camaraderie that exists there. Now, don't get me wrong. I know there's lots of close-knit teams and there's a lot of friend groups in our sport, but I've never heard anybody tell me that the crew chief brings the team in and we discuss the plan.
Very much values all our opinion. He wants to know, he wants our opinion going into it. He doesn't want to make a sole decision on his own. He wants us all involved. And that really, that just shows so much team. To me, that's just incredible. I've never done that in, any team I've worked with. So that says a lot.
Does it not fly in the face of I think, because David Grubnick's like a pretty intimidating dude. Like we met him a minute ago and we were like getting the Wi-Fi password and I started crying.
Wi-Fi down there too.
He gave us the internet tune up.
Well, he came up here and basically said, "Hey, mate, don't use the Wi-Fi." you know, and I'm like, is our bandwidth is saturated.
We won't.
When he first said something, I just kind of looked at the other guys. I'm like, what did he say?
He had never met him. He didn't know. He didn't know he was.
But doesn't that fly in the face everything you just said? Because he's kind of known as like kind of a hard-nosed, hard to get along with. I mean, I've been terrified. I've wanted to have him on the show a handful of times, and I'm like, I don't know. Everybody says he's
the wrong vibe. Then I've never picked that up from him, because I remember back.
But you hear that people think that he's like an intimidating guy.
I mean, he is. When he's on that starting line, he is like focused. He is. You know, it's game day. He wants to win, and half the time we put a killer number on the board, and I'll come over and hey, awesome run. I didn't expect we were gonna run that well. Could have been better, and then he walks off. And I'm like, really? Like, let's celebrate these small victories because they're big. We got the win.
I love that though.
He's awesome. He's incredible.
What do you think? I mean, I've talked to several top fuel drivers in recent weeks, and it's cool because, and we've seen this in multitude, various drag racing disciplines, where you start to win. We talked about this a little bit with Robert, where you start to win before you race people. And I've talked to a slew of drivers that are like, well, we're chasing Grubby. Everybody's kind of chasing Grubby. He's putting up these big speeds. I mean, we've heard
that in top end interviews from a number of drivers this year.
What do you attribute that to? I mean, do you guys, is there some, obviously you're not going to like bust out the race pack or anything, but like, what do you attribute this edge performance wise to right now?
You know, it's this whole team. It's David Grubnick. He's not afraid.
Is it? I think
he's
is
not
it that
afraid.
mindset?
He wants to, push this car to its limit, and we've gotten away with it. We've been lucky, and it's really those number one qualifiers that stand out. Those are the runs that I think people are talking about chasing Grubby. We put killer numbers, and we set track records, just across our circuit. So the things he's done is just incredible. He's quite a tuner.
Oh, it's more than incredible.
The aggression that he brings to tuning, kind of like Jimmy Prock. I feel like you guys have like the home run hitters, and is it ever in the back of your mind like, Grubby, should we back this thing down for round one? Because he'll just go out there and swing for the fences.
No, like again, he's asked us that, and I'm like, really? Like, we're fine in the show. We can keep it where it's at. No, I want to see what we could get away with. And it's like, okay. And he'll come over and tell me, okay, like if we're debating, it's kind of up in the air. We don't know if we're going to push or just play it safe. And he'll come over. Well, I changed my mind. Hang on. And I'm like, are you shitting me? You're going to leave me on that? What do you mean, hang on? So
when your crew chief says hang on, that's always one that gets the eyebrows raised.
Yeah.
Because, you make a really good point about being aggressive, because I've talked to so many crew chiefs that, they carry around a biblical notebook, right? It's got chicken scratch all over it. And they typically have like identified thresholds that they're comfortable with. And you see people sometimes like they don't want to like wheel speed numbers. Like, hey, this is all we've ever run. This is all that's the limit. But then you get people that are willing to step outside of that comfort zone. It's kind of a reminder maybe to everybody that like, hey, listen, your notes are good. Keep them. But you can't live and die by those notes. You have to be willing to push the envelope and try new things. And like you see David Grubnick, like when he's running mid 60s in the first round,
in the heat. What's
heat.
Impressive is what he's doing in the heat. And does that give you?
Oh, JT's taking a picture. Everybody lean in.
Okay, what's up? Does that give you
Text
more confidence as a driver to know that?
I mean,
this thing he's
Sonoma was incredible for us. We ended up winning the race, and our runs were just killer all day. I want to say we're running in the 60s, and to be able to produce that on race day is tough. Like you usually could, run those killer runs in the best conditions Friday, Q1 or Q2, when the track's cool and it's late at night and it's the best conditions you have that you're not going to have the rest of the weekend. So, when he could pull that off on race day, it's pretty outstanding.
It really is. So what's your take on, we've talked about, when we've talked to you about this one other time on the show, but how satisfying is it for you to be like answering the call as a driver, right? I know that's a lot of pressure you felt over the years your dad's John Force, your sister's Courtney Force, Ashley Force, you have this iconic legacy in the sport of drag racing. And I can only imagine the pressure that comes with that, right? But to be here in this moment, as a champion, living up to that, right? And clearly setting yourself up and being a difference maker, right? I mean, you've told us in the past that you've spent tremendous time trying to improve, trying to get better. I mean, how is it surreal? Is it hard to believe that it's happening right now?
It is. It's I've been out here for about 10 years, which
is really weird.
Crazy. Like, I don't know where the time has gone, but, we've done a lot, just bringing a top fuel car into a funny car, car pit, you know what I mean? We've never had top fuel, and we struggled the first few years, but then we came out and won a championship. We've accomplished a lot, and we're in a great place. And like I said earlier, I'm really looking forward to this countdown taking off and beginning. And you talk about the added pressure. There's always pressure, but when it comes within the family, I don't really feel that. I have so much support around me. My sisters support me. My dad's on the starting line behind me. I always have people, asking me, "Oh, are you trying to get around Courtney's? How many wins she had?" And it's like, I'm not competing against my sisters. They're not competing against me. I'm proud of them. They're proud of me. And that's it. At the end of the day, we all support each other. So I've never felt that kind of pressure. And my dad's won 16 championships. I don't even want to think about trying to do that. That just seems crazy.
It does seem crazy. When I was telling Robert earlier, like a decade of winning championships, I mean, that's a hard goal to even say out loud that you want to operate in that space. Yeah, it's unbelievable. So who are you going to call out?
I can't tell you right now. We're doing the call out on, we've been talking, the last few races, and it's actually changed weekend to weekend.
Is it fun? Like, is this a fun? I mean, I think it's cool. I think drag racing needs more things like this, to be honest. Just something to talk about. Like, those of us in the media business, I mean, we find ourselves a lot like, we got to find a story to tell. We've got to dig some dirt up. Like, we've got to be telling a story all the time, and this helps us.
I really like it. Yeah, I just love that everybody's in there. And you're thinking about it, and you're going to call this person out, and like you said, that it could change from week to week, and what your strategy is going to be going into it. So I really,
because there's like a thought, like, what? Let's just get the tough guy out now. Like, whoever we think's going to be, we're going to have to beat him probably,
or take the layup.
Or take a layup, or do you try to, you know what I mean? Which, unfortunately, at this stage of the game, there's no layups out here.
There's no easy beat. You guys think it sounds fun. I'm the one that has to go call the person out, so I'm not really looking forward to it. We started it in Gainesville in the beginning of the season, so now we're finishing it. I don't know my thoughts on it. I think it's exciting for the fans, and I watched the show after the Gator Nationals. Well,
and that was a shout out to everybody at Pep Boys. I don't know anybody there, but like that broke my heart because you could tell all the effort. I mean, the NHRA, everybody was trying so hard, and then the weather. Oh my God! So I mean, I hope those guys just stick with it.
Just tell them that you randomly drew their name out of
that.
That's how you pick. Yeah, that's how you pick.
And pull a name out, because there's no easy team to pick if that's what you're looking at.
Yeah,
if you want to advance, you'd want to pick the easiest team, but tell me which one it is, because we don't know.
Right.
They're all good. There's nobody I want to pick. There's nobody I want to line up next to.
Is it hard for you to be pushed into that position? Because it's funny, because this is like bringing some street outlaw, grudge racing, UFC stuff to drag racing, because you're way out of your comfort zone.
You might piss somebody off, and that's where it's like, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, it's the way the game's laid out, so we all have to play it.
It's a show, for the fans. So, yeah.
So it'll be exciting.
Does that part of it, like the entertainment aspect? I mean, we've seen you're very visible. You guys do a great job on social. Is that a challenge? Because it's one thing to have to cut a light and all these other things we talked about and focus on race day, but there's a lot of pressure through the week now. You've got to do appearances. You got to do interviews. Do you like that part of the business?
I do, because it keeps your mind in the right place. It just keeps you going until you climb in your race car. It's tough comparing it to like having an off weekend. So we had this last weekend off. I like to go back to back to back, because it keeps you focused. It keeps your mind in the game. It keeps you with that momentum moving forward. And then you go and you sit at home for a week, and then you try to come back and get in that same mindset. It's tough. So I like staying busy at the racetrack. So, I mean, coming into this call out, we have, an autograph signing with everybody. We do the call out, then we go into, a qualifying run, and then we go the next day is when that call out actually starts. So it keeps us busy. I like that, though.
It'll be fun. Is it exciting, the notion of being able to, like, I love this from like a storytelling perspective, that all these folks are going to have to sleep on who they're going to race.
Yeah, it's great.
It's great.
It's good that you're uncomfortable. I mean, from our perspective, that's what makes the good stories. That's what builds a storyline. So we love it. Like you said, the fans love it. But it is interesting to see how some people embrace it or want to play that role, but others, it's outside of your wheelhouse. So
is there talk amongst the drivers? Like, do you guys like talk about this? Like, I don't know how close you are with some of these guys and gals, but like, is there conversation regarding this stuff? Like, do you get the sense that people are liking it, or what's your take?
If they like the call, is that what you're asking? Honestly, I haven't talked to too many drivers about it just because it started in Gainesville and there's a big gap, and now we're picking it back up again. But when we get out there, when we started it in Gainesville, we're all behind, before we came out on the stage talking about who do you think's like we're all are throwing our votes in, guessing who's going to call out who, and we were right on some of them, wrong on a bunch of them, but
we were wrong on almost all
exciting.
of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were way
tried
off.
to pick them, and I was trying to be like salty about be cutthroat, like who would I pick and be honest. And we were completely wrong.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe how bad we missed it. One thing I want to ask you about before we let you go, and thank you again for being so gracious with your time. I know you've been here all day doing stuff like this, but the landscape as far as sponsorship is concerned, you'll be in the Monster car this weekend?
Yes.
Okay, so be in the black and green hot rod with polished wheels on it, just as God intended. That's something that I really, really like. It's not got black wheels.
Oh boy,
JT puts black wheels on everything, and I'm just out on black wheels.
I'm just out on
They're
chrome.
nice cars. They're race cars. They're supposed to be shiny, bro. Right? But anyways, can you just kind of, I would love to know just kind of some of your thoughts and feelings on working with a company like Monster that's so prominent, has such a presence in sports, extreme sports, motorsports, but also like Flavor Pack and balancing these, different. Do you think that that's kind of the model that it's going to take to be out here full time in drag racing moving forward?
Yeah, I think having a name like Monster in our car is huge, just because it's so well known and across the board, not just in sports, but it's everywhere. You see Monster everywhere. So to be able to represent a company like that, I'm very proud to. We've been with them since 2015, and Flavor Pack came on a couple years ago. Proud to represent them and Frank Teagues as well. They're both incredible companies, and we do the best job we can. We try to get them in the winner's circle. The exciting thing about this year was, looking at last season and this season, we'd only ever won in the Monster car, and it's how do you time that? Trying to get your other sponsor, your other car in the winner's circle. You can't line up how it works each weekend, but we did do it in Sonoma. Was a huge win for us because it was the Flavor Pack car.
Your dad told me a long time ago that you pitched the Monster deal, right? And that he pushed that upon you, like, hey, go get it. You encountered these guys or some people, some influential folks or something at a party or some event.
It was actually a wedding. So it was a girlfriend's wedding I was in, walking down the aisle. And I happened to be walking down the aisle with Mitch Covington, who, he's the marketing, motorsports marketing director.
Wears the flat bill all the time, right?
No, that's
no.
No.
I know Mitch Covington.
Mitch Covington.
Okay.
I probably got his title wrong, so don't quote me on that. But he's motorsports marketing, and he's one of the top bosses. And I happened to be at the wedding with him. We actually walked down the aisle together. And when we went into this thing, I'm pitching him up and down, talking about drag racing. He's like, "No, we've been there. We're not doing it. We're not interested." They were in drag racing years ago with Kenny Bernstein. And he's like, we put our time in and we're not interested. We don't want to go that direction. And the next day he'd pop over to me. So how fast do you guys go now? And I'm like, oh, he's curious. He keeps coming, asking questions. And, gave him, answered everything he wanted to hear. And
he knew who you were, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He knows my dad.
Okay, yeah.
Because they kicked him out of the boardroom 3 years ago when we went in trying to pitch him. And they're like, no, we're not getting back into drag racing. We had you in here, but we're not doing it. So I had actually met him before that. And again, he kept coming up, asking questions. Okay, well, what happens if, and so after a handful of drinks, convinced him to get me in the boardroom once we got back from the wedding.
This is how sales work.
That's how I
for everybody out there.
To do everything.
We fly home Monday, get me in there Tuesday for an interview, and after a couple drinks, he shook my hand. And the next day, everybody heading home. He's like, "I never agreed to that." I'm like, "Yes, you did. You shook my hand. I'm coming on Tuesday regardless." And he's like, "Okay, if that's what I said, we'll have it set up." And that's where it all kind of kicked off. We went in, and the biggest thing was they changed their mind on it because it was. They like the idea of a female. I'm actually the first female in Monster Motorsports world. They have snowboarders. They have so many other athletes, but I was the first female in their motorsports world.
Wow, that's
so
incredible.
that was like their big sell, and they liked that. And because I guess people always ask if being a female in this industry is a disadvantage or not. I think it's an advantage. It seemed to have worked. It's worked for me in the past. So. That's kind of how the whole thing kicked off.
And how are they excited now? I mean, it seems like I met a young lady that what's the lady we met in Brainerd? It was like the girl from Monster. I met.
Casey Van Karen.
Yeah, really nice lady, really nice lady. And I mean, do you feel like are they excited to be back here?
Oh yeah,
okay.
I mean, it's crazy because Monster's involved in so many different. They're all over the place, but they watch every single weekend. Because when we win, I get a text from my bosses up at Monster. Hey, good job! And I'm like, holy shit, they saw that. Like,
yeah, that's
they pay attention, and they want to know where their car is. Hey, you're talking too loud over there.
Oh, here. Dad's getting in trouble over here.
Anyways, they know what we're doing. They want to make sure their car lands in that winner's circle. They're all about. They told this to me, and actually the first meeting we ever had was they're about having fun and partying, but they want to win at the end of the day. That's their biggest focus is winning. So we try to produce that and do the best that we can for them, and feel like we're in a good position, and we're going after another championship.
Well, thank you again. And we're glad they're supporting you, and shout out to all those companies, because I think about that a lot, that we're all so grateful to have these companies that believe in people such as yourself, support these operations, and keep our sport headed in the right direction. We're so happy for you.
Thank you.
Best of luck this weekend. Be safe, stay out of trouble. All right.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll see you in the winner's circle on Monday.
All right. Yeah.
Sound good?
That's what we're going for. I got to ask you though.
Uh-oh.
You said you know who you'd call out if you were
Oh shit.
on our side. You said you guys picked in Gator Nationals. So
who else still in?
Who would be your pick?
We'd have to pull it up to look at it again.
So we have Justin Ashley,
Steve
Torrance, Mike Salinas. Me.
Oof.
See?
I mean, that's tough.
Justin has momentum at Indy. He won here last year, right?
Torrance has got momentum.
Torrance has got momentum from the last race.
Mhm.
And then, Salinas. Man, I think you got to call out Salinas. I think you're going to have to. I think you got to call out Mike. I like Mike. Mike's a good friend of mine. He's probably going to be mad at me, but I think that as far as, I mean, you're talking about a guy who just won Indy. So the team's clearly got data here. You know, they've had success here. And then Steve Torrance, I think, he's making an argument for one of the, a real great in our sport. So I think you're going to have to get through those guys. I think I'd call out Salinas. Who would you call out?
I'd agree for all those reasons.
Yeah,
I agree.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Unanimous?
Yep.
Yeah. Brett, who would you call out?
So that means we're going to be wrong.
Justin Ashley. Youth, he's young. You could get, Brian, who would you call out? Putting you on the spot. All the controversy. You know what? There's an argument to be made for that. I mean, because there's a high likelihood you're going to have to beat him sooner rather than later. Would you rather? I mean, you might as well get it over with. All right, so there it is, guys. Steve Torrance. Brittany's going to get rid of him tomorrow,
I'll let you guys know. I do. Yeah, so it's kind of cool. We set up who races each other and who we want to race. So we kind of set up the next round. It's kind of exciting.
That is cool.
Yeah, we'll all pick as one. Yeah.
So how do you imagine that going down? Dave Grubby will pull everybody in the hauler.
We've already every Sunday after an event we have an hour-long meeting, and that's where we always end it. Is Kate, who do we want to pick this weekend? If we're tomorrow, and problem is it's changed every single weekend.
Yeah, because I just changed in the last 40 seconds.
Yeah.
So, well, hey, thank you so much again for being gracious with your time. We truly appreciate it, and we'll see you, I guess, the next couple of days here at the Big Go.
Thanks,
ladies and gentlemen. Give it up.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We've been going at it for a hot minute here. Or is my clock wrong?
No, that's right.
Is it 4:47 or 3:47?
4:47.
So we've been going for an hour and
Eastern
47
time.
minutes.
Yep.
All right. I felt like my watch was wrong. Well, guys, again, I want to give all of you a huge shout out. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being a part of this deal. We're down to our last guest of the day, and I do believe that I don't know, it's going to be hard for him to top Brittany. And Robert was killer.
Great interviews, man. Like I said,
everybody has been. Brian's sitting right here too.
Brian was fantastic. We talked to Brian for 30 minutes. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable. Well, guys, without any further ado, without question, an icon of our sport, the greatest drag racer of all time, the GOAT. JT's wearing the polo to prove it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for John Force.
Good morning, Vietnam.
Bam, right off the
I
bat.
always wanted to say that.
I'm glad I provided you the
thought
opportunity.
Earnhardt was on the show with me today, too.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Wrong show.
Wrong show.
John, did you
But
see
you had the best. You had Robert Hight.
Oh.
You had Prock. Love this. And my baby girl.
Oh.
And speaking of babies, we got a new one on the way. Ray Hall's been busy.
No joke. My goodness.
Yeah.
So you're going to have 4 grandchildren pretty quickly. Is that right?
Well, yeah, what I better do is mention Peak. Blue Death, and all of them. Because if I don't, after all the money they spent on this press conference here, going into the NHRA U.S. Nationals.
Oh, do you still get excited after all these years?
Yeah. Well, you think the coffee does this to me?
Yeah, I know.
Okay. I got to be nice over here. Slurl, you'll see an arm come in and slap Slurl. Sarah. Well, I was going to say,
make up words all the time.
Sarah will slap me, and I said Sarah, but you'll see a hand come in when I talk about my age. So I'm 39, and I'm sticking with it. And I just got a contract. Peak signed me for 100 years.
Can you beat that?
Can't beat
What
that.
do you say? I mean,
I got to give Bolander credit. He stood up for me in the boardroom. But the real truth is, the guy that owns this company, okay, Old World Industries. Am I going to get in trouble? No, I'm not.
No.
Old World Industries. I know it's Tom Hervis. I was thinking what I was going to say. Tom Hervis, a billionaire, good to know, and he likes me.
Oh, what a victory.
And I thought I got a job, and then the new CEO said to me, "No, actually, he really loved his daughters that are in the boardroom now, involved in running the company. They love my daughter Brittany."
Oh,
they didn't even care about
Lord
me.
Jesus,
they didn't care about me. So,
if the CEOs like the family, okay, that's a great place to be.
Are you ready to start now? I'm warmed up.
Okay, we're ready to rock.
You didn't take none of that.
JT's got a question.
None of it was taped.
JT.
Oh, John? Did you see my shirt?
Wait, look at the biceps on that guy.
Did you see these little goats all over it? Can you pick which one's you?
Did you see
the goat,
greatest of all time?
It's greatest of all
He's
time.
been working on this joke for a week.
You wore the shirt.
You're the greatest of all time. Well, congratulations.
You are. If you listen real close, you can hear him.
Yeah,
John.
Hey, here, I brought you something from Texas. Wait a minute, this is a family show here. Okay, I'm ready to start. Erase all of that. Let's start all over. I'm already in trouble. Hey, I'm excited you guys to be here. Coming here. Peak.
Excited to be here.
You know, had a great breakfast for the media and stuff. All day long treats. I hear the bar's open tonight. Open bar for
wow.
Well, that'll get us both. That'll get me fired first for saying
Brandon,
it.
tell us about that.
But no, it's great to be. That was a joke. Great to be at Indy, race within a race.
Oh, very cool.
I knew you when you started, when you first came with that little old newspaper.
Do you remember when I came and shot
then
you
you
for the
called me
cover?
back and said, "I want to give the whole interview, but we don't have enough paper to do it all."
No, you remember what happened?
I do
two
remember.
things. So I went out to Yorba Linda to see you, and we shot photos up in your museum there for the cover of the magazine. And at that time, I lived in Missouri, and I always wore a Mizzou hat, and you called me Missouri. And now we've moved to Buck, which I think is a step in the right direction. But anyways, we were hanging out at the shop, and you're showing me all around and doing the tour. We take photos and whatnot, and it was an interesting thing because we took the photos, we designed the cover, and the very next day, I got served papers by Time Incorporated, a cease and desist, because I had duplicated their logo, the Sports Illustrated logo, right? Because I just took their font and put drag where sport was. I didn't know any better. They got a good looking logo, right? So we have the cover of the magazine all done with you on it, and we're getting sued by Time Incorporated. They want me to give them a full accounting of all the money we've earned using a deceptively similar logo. And I thought, man, we got this huge moment. We got John Force on the cover of the magazine, and now I'm going to have to shut this son of a bitch down because some lawyer.
Can we cuss on your show?
Oh, you can say whatever we want.
Oh, baby, I am ready.
Oh, no. And it broke my heart. But then I get home and I kind of get over it, whatnot. And I call you to interview you. And I remember you gave me your cell phone number, and it felt like winning the lottery. If anybody wants it, just shoot me a text. But anyways, you call me back early in the morning. And you say, okay, you're going to record this or something, kid? And I said, no, I just take notes. And you go, oh, no. You go buy a recorder and call me back. And I said, well, I didn't know any better. I was like 21 or something. So anyways, I went and bought a recorder, and I called you back, and we proceeded to talk for 3.5 hours.
You know what I'm so excited about today? I did a show a few days ago on the internet for NHRA. And they had all the drivers on there.
Oh, yeah.
But I was kind of told, like, Forrest, you never give anybody equal time. So I went in and I just shut up and sat over there, took my glasses off, laid them down. And Katz goes, "Oh, somebody tell me what's wrong with Forrest." There's nothing wrong with me. I made up a story. I'm a little bit down today, but the truth is I was just trying to give equal time to everybody. Because but today it's just me. My daughter and Robert and Prock have already been here.
They're out of here.
I can do what I want. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm ready to rock. Are you?
I'm ready to start doing this interview. I'm ready.
Well, so take us through the USA. Are you still? Do you like this call out thing? Do you like this whole format?
Take us through USA.
No, the call out thing.
Oh,
do you like this type of deal?
You said USA first. I told him on the interview, one of the things I said was, I'm honored that I'm in the bottom half. Somebody, I think I was fifth, somebody can call me out, but I called them out. I said, I hope it's Cruz or I hope it's Hagan. That's who I want. And then I said, I really don't want Robert because we want our odds better. I want to see him in the final where one of us will win. But I didn't call anybody out. But I said, it's an honor to me. If you call me out because you think you're going to kick my butt, well, God bless you. At least you called me out. But I'm going to make you think different before this is over. I hope.
We all do.
Hey, did I get Peak in there enough times? Old World Industries, Blue Def. Oh, it goes on and on.
What's the environment like out there in corporate America for you these days? I mean, it's got to feel good to have companies like this sponsoring, supporting this operation. But it seems, I mean, you got logos up and down the sleeves. I mean, are you having good meetings?
Lucky Auto Club just signed for 3 years with Robert, changing some things around a little bit. Brittany, I signed 3 years with Peak. Brittany's got a 2 years and an option with Monster. Okay, and with Frank Teagues from Flavor Pack, so we're really good. Then Cornwell stepped up with us, and then we got a guy I raced 35 years ago, Power Steel, owns a steel company in Arizona, but now he's building solar too, and so we're excited about that. Been really lucky. NKC come on board. Our agency brought those guys in. I'm building an agency here, John Force Racing, upstairs. And anyway,
a marketing agency,
to
bring it in house.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's like the next logical step?
Yeah, because we've always done it ourselves, and I've hired outside agencies, and I just put one, on board where they can work on it every day. They say, you need any other help? Nope. All I want you to work on is finding money. It's tougher. We used to sell a complete car for a ton of money. And that world is getting tougher. I was real lucky, with Peak, one, because of my youth, to get them to sign me for 3 years. I was amazed, but I can hear the joke now. Don't worry, you won't live that long. So anyway, but I'm just kidding, honey. Your dad's going to be around forever. Okay. Who would aggravate you if I wasn't here? You want to get in this interview? I'd really love to have you in here with me.
Yeah, you
right
can
next
join.
to me. She's a lot. Oh, I come. Yeah, but I didn't get the goat part. Now, if you had a donkey,
I can tell some really bad jokes.
If you had a donkey on there, I would understand it. I've been called that.
Greatest of all time.
Huh?
Goat, greatest of all time.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. That's all great, but we know how the real world works. And I'm just happy. I'm proud that I'm part of it. But if you really look at the real goats, okay, in our industry, you take guys, Austin Coyle and him and Bernie Federle, 16 championships. If you look at Kenny Bernstein, you know what I mean? Ron Armstrong, those are the guys that made us. We were just, Bernstein was a smart kid. I was just a dumb kid. I got to get that right. Or the calls will be coming in from Wyoming. So, but what I'm saying is it's getting the money from the sponsors and surrounding yourself with their money with the right people. That's what I told the media this morning. I want to thank all of you for being here because if you really look at it, I'm not Coletta. I don't have an airlines out in the parking lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I couldn't even afford a rental car this week and had to give it to Courtney. But Brittany, Courtney's home having a baby. The other deal is, what were we even talking about?
Getting money, surrounding yourself.
Yeah. And that's what I said to the media. But if you guys don't write the stories and Peak, did I say Peak?
Yeah.
Yeah, Peak. I said Peak. I think I said peak. How many times did I get it in? Peak. That's 5 times right in a row. That's pretty good.
You're getting a bonus.
I think you're getting a bonus. I think we're all getting bonus.
Okay. So in the middle of it, we just if you guys don't print it, if you don't say it, then they don't get what they need to make sales, and we don't get what we need. So with that, I hired the people to make all of that happen, and I've been very lucky. Grubnick coming in with the Monster Energy car and flavor pack. They split that car. That car is really good. He does a really great job. Robert Hight with Jimmy Prock and Cunningham, unbelievable.
How about Sarah? Like, you think about it, because the team that you have extends beyond the walls of this race shop, right? Because like I was telling Brittany, I think you guys do probably the best job in our space as far as media, PR, content, and that's a big part of that. I mean, we just talked to Brian about it. You really got
piercing eyes, and your hair is so like
really?
You're so cute.
Oh, really? John Force called me cute.
I've been wanting to say
hold
that.
Hands?
I've been wanting to say that for years. Okay, now we got a whole new audience.
A whole new audience.
Okay. I knew we'd make that happen.
Well, no, and hey, I hope you know we appreciate it.
If I get out of hand, Sarah will take me outside. What was that all about? Upside the head.
But don't you see value to that? I mean, you got a hell of a team out there in that front office. And there, I mean, in this day and age, telling those stories and shining a light on what's happening with this race team, it's as important as winning.
You don't think I got problems, but I got to even my face up. I only slapped on one side and I started feeling lopsided. Wait, this is not a normal interview.
No.
Where are we going with this?
We're just talking shit. We're just talking shit.
Yeah.
I
I do like your hair.
Thank you. I'm glad you do.
And I really like your donkeys down there. Or your goats.
Oh, my God. Kind of made my day.
Yeah, I think the joke missed.
It's like saying goat is like saying when you're going to retire. Half of them retire and then they come back.
We've seen that a few times in drag racing.
When I retire, there will be no coming back. There will be Bolander carrying my coffin.
This took a dark turn.
That'll be the end.
My God, John.
Can we get into this race while we're here?
Yeah.
Hey, was that a good morning, though, with stuff and the tour of the museum, and got to see Eric Medlin's place, a kid that I've said a million times, but I got to give credit to his father. He took on John Force, got involved. Schumacher brought in the Army. So many people started looking at safety. They put a roll cage on my car. They put padding in my car, stuff that wasn't the way that it could have been. You know what I mean? We evolved it, but his dad led the charge on it. And I crashed 3 or 4 months later at Dallas, same exact situation, and it should, and I walked away from it. You know what I'm saying? So I broke my arms and legs. I was pretty beat up. But because of that, I give credit. I don't understand why it worked that way. It should have been me. You know what I'm saying? But his dad led that charge, and a lot of safety came out of that, and I believe a lot of lives are saved. And that's why it's going to stay there as long as I got money, as long as I got a building. You know what I mean? Eric Medlin, so we never forget. But look at the sponsors that paid to go down that road. So, to help us make it. So I'm very lucky, blessed by the people around me. And Bolander putting together this thing this morning. I know Sarah and our people were on top of it. But that was a great idea to come in here and help the sport that we love, NHRA. So thank you, Mr. Bolander. And to put on a deal, take care of the media, get the turnout that we had. You know what I mean? We know that the other brand that's sponsoring the Nationals, I got to say it, Chevy, don't get mad, but Dodge, okay? Did I say Dodge before Chevy? I couldn't have said that. I couldn't have done that. Chevrolet, I'm okay. You got it recorded. But Dodge did a press conference on Monday with their drivers, and we're going to be doing more tomorrow for the Pep Boys. How much Monster Energy did I drink?
A lot.
Man.
You're good. When you look at all this, how far does it feel like a truck stop? You told me a story one time about trying to get a match race, pulling over at a payphone, dialing for dollars, essentially trying to get a match race booking. When you look around and see all this, I mean, can you take yourself back there pretty quickly? Close your eyes.
I match race in the early days, and I was heading. I remember I was coming from match race in Memphis, and I was at a crossroads. I was out of money. Only credit card that I carried was my dad's. and I had used it to the max. I was in a Union 76, and I went in there and put some quarters in and called collect to tell my dad it was over. My dad said, first of all, you said you'd never quit. Nothing would ever take you down. I said, yeah, but I'm at the end of the road. He said, well, some guy called from Texas, and he's running a match race. You know who I'm talking about, the guy that ran Houston, the old Houston. And I can't think of it. And his boys were out here racing. One crew chief Tomato's car. I know his name as well as I know mine. But yeah. So in the middle of it, my dad said, you got to call the guy because nope. You'll know it. Real thin guy, worked for NHRA for a while. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll remember it in a bit. But I called him and I said, called him collect. And he said, I said, you wanted me? And he said, well, are you available to run? I said, well, I'm pretty busy, you know. And he said, well, we need you to come here because, NHRA's national event rained out, and we sent, Prudhomme and Beetle, they're going, instead of the match race, they're going there, and I need a car. And I said, well, I ain't even going to negotiate this, but I want 2 rooms, okay, and I want half the money you were paying Prudhomme, okay? And he said, you got the deal. You know what I mean?
What did you?
We never had
half the
2
money
rooms in our life.
What was half the money? What would you have gotten for a match race back then?
Back in the early days?
Yeah, a couple grand.
I'd get a couple grand if I was lucky, but the Prudhommes, they got 8 and 9.
Okay.
And I got $4,000. And Farrah, no, not Farrah. He was in Baton Rouge where I left running a match race. Oh man. Anyway, and I took it, and it was a crossroads. It's in my book that we've sold twice. Had to give the money back twice. $250,000 I got from a New York company and had to give the money back because the story won't end. It just keeps reinventing itself. Somebody crashes, somebody wins a championship. My kids come along, one of them win. It just keeps going. I finally gave up on it. So anyway, but it'll get done. Now it's 3 books. They want the early days, the Grapes of Wrath. Are you guys going to get in this? It is your show.
I was leaving it up to you two.
Yeah. No.
I'm going to take a picture of it.
Let's get a picture.
Yeah.
All right. Flex those biceps down there, muscles. Okay. All you guys look like weightlifters. I don't get it. Me, I
don't lift many weights.
I look like the truck driver where I ought to be, really.
We heard there's a gym here. Austin said he works out here.
He says he does it by working on the car. Is that true?
Who does that?
Austin Prock.
Oh, kids come with muscles anyway. But look, I'm trying to go different because I let everybody down earlier in the week, and I didn't mean to. I just was dealing. But today I'm kind of doing my own thing. There's 3 of you, so I got to stay ahead of you.
You got to try, yeah. Well, so but how crazy is this? I mean, do you have any? I mean, I talked to your daughter about it. I talked to Robert about it. I mean, this is a very inspiring thing for us to come to a facility like this and know that drag racing provided you the platform to build all this. A multi-million-dollar facility outside of Indianapolis, the one of 2 that you own, along with a bunch of other property. I mean, are you shocked? I mean, did you ever in your wildest dreams think that this would be what happened?
No, you see the land across the street? There's 15 acres over there. I finally bought that about 5 years ago, and going down the road waiting to build. I want to build a big museum. I got my big museum. This is very small. I don't want to change the cars. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to keep the history of John Force Racing. I don't want to, if I get a new sponsor, I don't want them to take the old one off. That's not fair. So you'll see a lot of cars from the past, but I want to build a museum over there, but I want it bigger. I want it for more than just a museum. I don't know if there's money in a museum, but if you do shows there, like we had the Aruba banquet here one year, and I want it to hold 4,000 to 5,000 people that you could put in an audience.
An event center, yeah.
Shows. Then we can have our own radio show. We can have a lot of stuff.
We could have our PRI party there.
Yeah, we can throw a party there. I'm big on throwing parties.
Yeah, but so we got enough place to build that and do it. But that's down the road money-wise. I may have to sell my operation in California, but it's really just, my family and a few people that still build show cars. We have the TV, have a movie theater out there, got the TV. You've been there. We got the TV production there. It's small, but we can get stuff made. So we're excited for Flavor Pack. Ashley built the commercials. for flavor pack for the race at Seattle?
I knew she did them when I watched them. I said, I almost guarantee you that Ashley did those because I've seen her stuff. And like everybody, you have a signature. Everybody's kind of got a signature with that type of thing. I knew she did them. Thanks for sharing. So let me ask you this.
You know what's something that's funny? When I yelled out, "Good morning, Vietnam," nobody laughed because you guys aren't.
Oh, I did.
I've seen
you
the
never
movie.
saw the movie.
Oh,
Like you
I
saw a
have.
rerun.
Oh, yeah.
Because I do stuff a lot of times, and people go, "What? Where did that come from?" I said, "You didn't know about that?" You know.
When did you start when did you make the conscious decision to start preserving your history?
When I finally got enough money to keep a car, you always had to sell it to build a new car.
Yep.
Right.
So, am I pitching the race or?
No, we're just talking. NHRA can pitch the race.
NKC? Did I mention Cornwell Tools?
Yep.
I did.
Yeah. At least twice. I
Power
think.
Solar.
Yeah. No, that's the first time.
Okay. I've done my job. Okay. So when did I?
Yeah. When did you decide?
No, and all this stuff. You got to understand something. I'm not Coletta. I don't have a jet. I'm in seat 32 on American, if they'll let me on, right? And in the middle of it, I'm not Schumacher. You know what I mean? If I was anybody, I'd stay close to Schumacher because he loves this sport. You know, he was driving funny cars before I was even on the scene. My uncle, my family raced, against him years ago. But the point is, what was the point? I was going somewhere. I got looking at those fans going around. Are those expensive to run?
Yeah, I think they are.
What I was going to tell you is you look at all the Herco machinery back there, millions of dollars worth of stuff. I didn't have the money to buy all that stuff. It was an evolution of the first machine group I was with to the second to the third. But instead of money, for machines, they'd give me machines. They do training seminars here. They'll bring people here to buy machines, give them a tour of the shop. And that's how we grew this thing over 20 years. And it's a strong program. I couldn't afford that. Without that, thank you, Herco, I couldn't have built safety for Eric Medlin. And I don't know nothing about building nothing. So I don't want no credit. Any credit goes to my guys in the machine shops, the chassis shops, everything that we do, the paint shops, but it all came from Eric Medlin and his dad. And his dad says, I'm going down that road. He moved from Arkansas to Indy, to come up here to run it. And he left one day. I wish they'd all come home, but a lot of them leave me. There's so many kids that are out there that Dean Antonelli, that's with Ron Capps. Dean Antonelli walked into my shop one day and he had a little boy with him. And I go, who is that guy? And Austin Prock said, the guy wants a job. He goes, I want to work on race cars. He was divorced, but he had his son. And he ended up working for us. And like, what are we going to do? Let him wipe tires. I don't know, but I like the way he talks. I like the kid that he is that loves all of these, where nobody else would hang out with me, Dean Antonelli would. And along come Eric, along come Robert Hight, same thing. You know what I mean? Robert was with Roger Prim in a Top Fuel car. And now they're all running race cars. My son-in-law, Daniel Hood, he come from Chicago with his dad. They were construction workers, ran big cranes, and he come here, took a cut in pay, and he still tells me about it. But in the middle of it, he raced with the Creasy family. So they're like family to us. But they walked in here, they're little kids. That was 25, 30, 35 years ago. And now I see them out there running cars. They're everywhere, So, and kicking my butt some days, but not this weekend. not at the U.S. Nationals in my Chevrolet Camaro. Okay. Is that sucking up or what? I want to say hi to Tom Hervis. A wonderful man. Loves motorsports. He said, I used to have Richard Petty. Now I got you.
I think
I can take it.
I think you did all right.
But what I'm saying is they've been really good to me. And to come into our shop here, which is part their shop, they helped build it. But to help us go down this road and take care of the media, to help grow NHRA, that's a big deal to me. I love that. I was going to do a show called Off the Wall. I did that show. It was a one-time deal. Kenny Rogers was part of that. It was on TV.
Really?
Don Perdome was a guest. And so later I decided I'm going to do my own show like you guys have. So I taped it. I did about an hour and a half. It was awesome. So before we put it out there, we're sent it to my attorney. My attorney called back, "Oh my God, don't." He said, between politics, religion, and aliens, they're going to commit you to a nut house. Don't do it. And we pulled the plug. We never, my guy was putting it together that did our TV show Driving Force.
Yeah, which was awesome. I missed that.
He thought it would be great. But after my attorney said, "Oh, no, you went down roads, you don't imagine the people you touched that will burn your house down." So
how big of a deal do you think that reality show was? I don't know that we realize how significant that was.
Well, it bought all my daughter's condos. I couldn't afford to buy them.
I mean, they're needle movers, though.
But,
we've seen that.
It was really good. They did a great job. It was on A&E. I met Robert Redford coming out of one of those fancy restaurant hotels up there. I can't even remember, but he was standing at the elevator door, and I said, "Oh my God," because my hero, and everyone's like, "Say something," and I never, next to wanting to meet Jesus any day now, or Elvis any day now, like Robert Redford in the lobby, and it was just a moment to say,
"What's your favorite Robert Redford movie?"
Yeah.
What's your favorite Robert
Butch
Redford?
Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Told him all about it. Told him, "Oh, Sergeant Force, you don't have to tell me." He didn't even know my name. My name's John Force. Don't ever forget. And he said, "John Force," he said, "I made the movie. You don't have to tell me about it." Well, I was trying to prove to him. Then I ran into Paul Newman. I was down doing a show in Nashville, and I come out of an elevator. He was sitting there getting his shoes shined. And I said, "Oh my God." And this big old muscular guy shoved me out of the way so he could go back to work. And I said, "No, this is Robert Redford." The guy, "Yeah, no." And I said, "It was, and it's just something." These were people of my era that I watched, that I loved. I mean, did you know that Robert Redford brought in Brad Pitt to replace him?
No, I didn't know
saw him as I saw an interview once where he said that. I looked at the next generation of stars, and he brought up Brad Pitt.
Have you seen the new Elvis movie?
The third time or the fourth time? I'm going on.
Best
yeah,
movie.
but I found it. Go ahead.
It's
your turn.
It's the best movie of all time. It's that kid killed it. That kid, what's his kid's name? Austin? No,
I haven't seen it yet.
Austin Stud. He killed it. Have you guys seen it? It is unbelievable.
My daughter for Christmas or my birthday, she gave me the Elvis cutout of him standing, the actual guy playing in the movie. And on the back it said, "We're all going to see Elvis at the movies," because she knew I loved him. And that's what Jacob and Noah gave me for Christmas.
Oh,
and I've never gone with them yet. I felt so bad, and I've seen it 4 times, but I love it. But you know what? Let me tell you something. I knew all about how it all went down when they found him in the bathroom. They don't say that in the deal, but I had some insiders, a guy at the gas station in Memphis that said Elvis used to come there on his bike, on his motorcycle. But there was things I never knew. Like I kind of thought that Colonel Sanders Parker, Colonel Parker, I thought he went out earlier, but he was right there to the end. He hooked him in the international. And I saw so much comparison with me, except I can't sing, but I did do Elvis impersonations when I was little on stage.
Really?
But I saw things like get him off the floor, give him some shots, and let's get him back.
There's a scene in the movie where he's literally exhausted.
Yeah.
He's playing every night, right? I think at that time he was doing 2 shows a night in Vegas, like 7 and 9, right? And Elvis, I mean, he goes out there sweating through his socks, kung fu and doing the deal, the greatest of all time. If we're talking about goats, I'm a huge Elvis fan as well. And he literally collapses from exhaustion. And Colonel Tom Parker says, "Doc, you got anything you can give him?" And they literally open up the black bag and start shooting him up with shit and send him out on stage. And I mean, he was like a caged animal. It actually broke my heart there toward the end of the movie.
I never understood.
I didn't know it was that bad.
Made a statement. You're no good unless you go on that stage. You won't be able to keep Graceland. Well, wait, how'd he get in trouble? Well, then when I started looking up stuff, and it even said it in the movie, Parker let Elvis spend all the money he wanted, and then you owe it back to me. Parker owned him at the end. And if you don't go to work, you can't pay me. And Parker had gambling debts. And he said, and you'll lose Graceland, and you'll lose your entourage, which was huge of people. And you got to work till you drop. And that's kind of my story. And that's why Peak signed me up. Thank you for 3 more years. But I'm going to go till I drop to keep this ship afloat. And it's all paid for. But let me just the day-to-day run it. That's why I got Robert's president, because I don't want to hear what we owe.
I bet the power bill here has to be salty. The power bill at this place.
I don't want to know about it.
I wouldn't want to know either. Well, John, before we let you go, and thank you for
we're just getting started.
Okay, well, I saw Brian look at his watch, so I thought maybe we were getting shut down.
Are we paying by the hour? Okay, I'll pay from now on.
Okay,
I'm enjoying these guys. I've known him since he first walked in. You know what I mean? And it's
been a long time, 16
years
years
ago.
ago.
You were going, yeah. And your hair was a little taller.
Less gray.
Yeah, look at
yeah, less gray.
Okay, so what? So we're going to get your 2 buddies. Can we interview them and get them?
Yep.
Who sold you a shirt with a donkey on it? Not a donkey, a goat.
Man, I don't know who sold this.
I got a story I'll tell you when we go off the show.
Mike's got a story for you when he came here the first time.
About time you got in here.
Oh yeah. My first experience at John Force Racing.
Was you yelling at him?
Was unique. It was you yelling at me. It was about 5 years ago, maybe
more than that. I think more than that.
I yelled at somebody in my building. I must have thought you were an employee.
Well, wait till he tells you what he did.
So we were coming here to pick something up for the PRI show that we had shipped here to your shop, which thank you for letting us do that. The guy that I'm with, he one of our former employees now, but he's driving and he pulls up to the front. There's no cars in the front. Your rig's in the front, strategically parked in front of the
I know where you're going, but
in the front doors. And I said, man, we should pull back. We should go around to the back. We got to pick something up back there anyway. He's like, no, this is perfect. We'll just park right here, right in front. So we park like right outside the front door. And then we just waltz up and swing the doors open. And then there are people everywhere, up on ladders, boom mics, cameras. You're sitting there with all the lights on you. Your full fire suit, and you guys are shooting a commercial. And we walk right into the middle of it. And walk right in, and I look at my coworker, and I said, "Told you, man. I told you we should go to the back." And they're like, "Go just go ahead, get what you need, go to the back. It's fine."
I yelled at you though.
We turned the corner there, like going down the hall, like you're gonna go out to the shop, and we're thinking, all right, he wasn't that mad. That was okay. And then we hear, and tell those 2 guys to move that piece of shit Ford truck that they parked out in front here.
Oh, because I'm a Chevrolet guy? Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. If this is going to be the Liars Club, well, then let me tell some stories back. But because I want, if you walked into a filming, that could have cost us some money if we shut it down. And especially with me finally getting it right.
Mike probably owes you money at this point.
He might owe you money at this point.
Yeah. That was my first and last experience at John Force Racing. So I'm glad we got to do this today and kind of make it right.
Does he do this every week? Does he beat on me?
Oh,
was it the Earnhardt plug I got coming in? I told Earnhardt I'd plug him in. And actually, I'm using his name to make me look better. Okay? And he lets me get away with it.
We've got Elvis, Earnhardt, Richard Petty. We've been doing some name dropping here.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your
Tom Brady, the GOAT?
Yeah.
The real GOAT.
I'd say that's probably correct. He may be. He's a bad man.
GOAT of his sport.
Tell us a crazy Indy story. You've won this thing 5 times. What's your craziest Indy story of all time? Or is it 6 times?
I don't know.
5 or 6 times.
Don't matter. They want me to win it again.
U.S. National wins 5. Qualified number 1, 12th. Thanks, Sarah. Tell us a crazy Indy story. Do you have one that sticks out in your mind? I think the most recent one, you took out Jack Beckman How long ago was that? 16 or 17? It was the year Chevrolet was the sponsor of the race. I remember that. Tell us an Indy story.
Well, like we're going to be racing this weekend at the U.S. Nationals, that for Camping World, let's get that in there. I forgot Camping World. What's wrong with me? So excited to be with you guys. I'm forgetting my plugs. But with the new group coming in, I just want to see if you guys remember our call out. I know, Pep Boys. I used to work there. Do you know what I got in my shop in California? You know what I got in my shop? I got Manny, Mo, and Jack on the wall, except I had it painted, didn't I, to be Austin Cole, Bernie, and John Medlin. They got mustaches on.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So, and it really is in my museum. What are we talking about?
Well, we've kind of been bouncing around a little bit.
Okay.
Tell us an Indy story, like your favorite Indy memory.
But like the Pep Boys call out, okay, we did the Traxxas shootout, but we did the Big Bud shootout. So one year, if you win the race, they're going to let you carry the money back.
That clear suitcase
thing? $25,000
Clear suitcase, yeah.
Right? So I got the other end. We won it. It's a big deal. You're going to parade back. And I get up on top, and they put this sack of money in my lap, and this is awesome. And then this white and polka dot dog jumps in the front seat next to the driver, and this dog won't quit licking me. And he licked me everywhere. Okay, and it's like, stop this. I got crowds of people. I'm trying to wave, and I'm trying to hold this dog up. And oh, man, I was wet when I got to the starting line. That wasn't bad. I tried to open the money and hold up some, because it was real money, and I thought that'd be kind of cool. And then the dog about dumped it all out on the racetrack, and it was like, how did I even get here? And who put this dog in the front seat with me? But it was really a moment that, the media people thought, this is unbelievable. Old Forrest up there with this old dog giving me a tongue lashing, and it was actually the most sex I'd had in a while. But we won't go there. My daughter's here. So, okay, back to you. Back to you.
That's a pretty solid Indy story. We'll take it. Who are you going to call out? Oh, no, you're getting called out. Are you bummed that you don't get to call somebody out?
No,
would you call someone out?
No. I love Cruz. I love racing him. Love racing Hagen. I mean, hit the heavyweights first. Get them out of the way if you can, or they'll get me out of the way.
Have you and Hagen patched things up? You guys had a little bit.
Never had a problem with Hagen. I've heard that, but I never, every driver gets out. Bazemore used to get out and chew my ass every race. You know what I'm saying? What are you doing? What did I do wrong? I came to the starting line. Okay, but that is the way it is. And you want them to have that emotion, and you want that fire in their belly, and they give it to you. You know what I'm saying? And Hagen, he gets out of the car. He looks like the Hulk. He's all muscle. But he's good for our sport.
Agreed.
And Tony Stewart coming into our sport. People go, why you keep mentioning Tony Stewart's kind of like mentioning Elvis, name dropping.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You just talk about yourself. After a while, nobody wants to listen. That's why you got to keep plugging peak. Bull Anders 1, 2, you owe me 4 more. Okay. I'll stretch this out. But in the end, Tony Stewart's good for our sport. When I go in the boardroom, I tell him, hey, Tony Stewart came over here. From NASCAR, from road race, roundy rounds, dirt tracks. And I said, got to be something here. And okay. And same thing with Don Schumacher. Don Schumacher hasn't left the sport. You know what I mean?
Right.
He and I love to see Caps own a team. I love to see Antron own a team. I want to see all these young kids, own the teams. So I say to my daughter, you want to own a team? She goes, Dad, I already get all the money. I don't need to own it. So that works. Just kidding.
Not really.
Just kidding. Just kidding. Buddy.
Do you think that the days of these big super teams are over? Or do you think we'll see more of that?
I've only got 2 dragsters and 2 funny cars. And I didn't start that. I had someone say, well, is it fair you have 4 cars? First of all, fair. I help fill the fields. But number 2, I have 2 dragsters and 2 funny cars. And I didn't start that. I remember sitting in the staging lanes at Arizona, and Bernie Federle come walking by. He was with I think it was Ronald McDonald with the potato grower out in Larry Minor, and Bernie stopped to talk to Coyle. They were friends, and Bernie says, "Boy, it sure pays, to have that funny car running first and the dragster running after it, because we share data." And Coyle looked over at me and said, "I think we need another car, so we can have that, Yeah. And so, okay, I'll get you another car." And that's how stuff happens. You know what I'm saying? I ain't ever getting on your show again, am I?
Oh, yes, you are. As soon as possible. But that's the type of stuff
we
want to hear.
It's West. West? Okay, West.
It's okay.
Wild West.
You typically call me Buck.
Yeah.
My last name.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's easier to remember.
That was my joke I was leading to, but I forgot. Because there's another guy named Joe Buck.
Yeah.
Is he the one you don't like?
I don't like him.
Somebody told me don't mention him. There's a Joe Buck, and then there's Rogan. And now Rogan, he gets fired from what he's doing, and now he's got a real job. Somebody took him in on Fox or somebody, didn't they? Didn't they give him his own show? You want to talk politics or religion or aliens?
All three. Do you believe in aliens? I did a 2-hour podcast with Don Garlitz, and all we talked about was aliens. And it's really, he makes a pretty compelling argument.
He does. Yeah.
You've heard it.
Yep.
JT was there. I mean, he knows it. He told me that he doesn't believe in aliens. He knows about them.
Well,
it's a powerful
statement.
statement.
Said that?
To me.
Yep.
Yeah. Right here, right on this show.
Well, somebody told me somebody got abducted and went on a saucer and came back with a new tune-up. So I'm a little confused here of the stories I've read. Okay, let's go back to how I love Don Schumacher. Okay, because Don, if you ever want another kid, I'm available. Okay.
Brett will text him right now.
Yeah.
We should call him up, patch him in. See.
So real questions now. It's time to start our interview.
Okay.
Where do you want to go? But you know what? He's looking at me like, okay, asshole, you're the one that insulted me when I came in the shop. We can cuss on this show.
Man. That's my go-to story.
Bolanders, you're going to try to get more money so we can go overtime.
Let's hope he does.
Are we on overtime yet? Are we done?
No, we're not done. We can go as long as we want to go. That's the whole beauty of the World Wide Web at this point in time.
I want to talk about my daughter, Brittany. I want to talk about what she's done in a top fuel car.
Incredible.
With a great team around her. A guy, her crew chief, Grubnick. I can't talk to him, not because he's Australian. Hard to talk to a guy like that lives on another planet. He's really smart. And of course I ran into same kind of smarts. My guy at the donut shop, he's Asian and he outthinks me. So maybe it's me, not them. But Grubnick is really a smart guy, like Jimmy Prock, like Austin Coyle. They're all on another planet. So I leave that to Robert. They stay in it. But I'm having a lot of fun. You know what I mean? And watching her excel as a driver, setting records, winning races, won a championship a few years back. And I want to make a call out. Bill Schultz, Over the Hill Gang, was one of my crew chiefs, and I just found out yesterday that he had passed. And was a great guy. Built that Over the Hill Gang, and they won the championship in Top Fuel. I think they did one year with
Gary Beck.
Gary Beck, and just he was really a smart guy too, and it's really amazing. And then I've had to do some touring lately on funerals. We lost some people that this ain't leading to a joke. These are people I loved. Bruton Smith, I loved him. Bill Bader Sr. Before his time, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's just heartbreaking, and a lot of my friends. But then me and Schutz are standing at the last race, and we're talking about which one's going to have the heart attack first. And they said he had a heart attack
yesterday.
Yeah,
he's on the mend.
But he's okay. I called him already and left a voicemail. I was supposed to go first, is what I told him. But I told him also how lucky he is that they caught it. You know what I'm saying?
They said 100% blockage or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, he posted a picture on the internet of him smiling, and
Yeah, well, I called him, told him I loved him, because there's a guy that took the first photograph of me. I had to pay him to take it, but he took it. Okay. And he's still am I talking too much? Should I get off here? You got a closing you got to do? Are we both going to get fired for this interview? You got them plugs in though. But anyway, I'm just a little wound up today. It's been a long day with the media and everything we're doing and meetings in the office. I'm excited to be here at Indy, at Camping World, the U.S. Nationals, NHRA. It's the granddaddy. It's where everybody wants to be and everybody wants to win. And I'm coming in with guns a-blazing. We've had some issues with the driver. That's me, John Forrest. We've had some issues with the car, but we're ready to drag race. And I was 8 points out of third. I was going to catch Caps. All I had to do was beat him at Brainerd, but then I fell 2 spots. And Tasca, his car's up and running. Yeah. He's fast. And in Cruz, he didn't pass now, but he did in the shootout for qualifying or something. So when they told me he was picking, I thought, but I like racing Cruz. We go way back in the old days, and we have a lot of fun. So you wanted to laugh about something. Get it out. Get it out.
What'd you think of that crowd in Brainerd? Wasn't that amazing?
Yeah,
that was incredible.
Yeah. And the pandemic, people get trained, they go somewhere else, but people that follow drag racing and their parents and moms teach the kids, we're going to keep growing it. And I know that the manufacturers are talking electric cars and all that stuff, and it's probably going to happen and it'll evolve in time, but it ain't coming overnight. Nope. It ain't going to come in my lifetime. Okay. So, which that ain't saying much, but trying to make Volander's the one that got me signed for 100 years. Now he's getting nervous, but I'm not going anywhere. But God has a plan for me. Trust me. Okay. And I'm just worried about what that might be. But in the end, I remember when they talked, you got to quit drag racing. Cars are going to start flying here pretty soon. Actually, I wasn't drag racing but I read all the magazine stuff about it. And then pretty soon somebody thought, well, that's great. We got people on the street driving cars that shouldn't be. Number 2, you're going to put them in the air. Yeah. You better think that one over. But a guy said the other day on the news, what happened if we had a catastrophic? I better not go here.
No, go ahead. You're good.
What if we had a catastrophic and a big old hurricane came into down below Baton Rouge and everybody had to go, north, and the freeways were backed up for 2 days, and they all had electric cars and half the batteries were dead when they left. So they better get out there on them freeways to get them people up. Remember that big stadium they all went to and lived in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Superdome.
Yeah. The Superdome.
Yeah. But is the world crazy today? But what's nice? We got products at Old World Industries. We sell Blue Death in trucks, but antifreezes and coolants, that'll still be in electric cars, right? You don't think I read Hervis's book. I'm crazy, not stupid. There's a difference. And I got a story when we hang up on to tell you about that shirt. Okay. But I'm not going to tell it on the air. So anyway,
oh my gosh.
Okay. I know you guys are up here for hours.
No, this is what we do.
But I was trying to give you a little bit break.
This has been great. This has been really good.
I'm not usually this way.
Oh yeah.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Well, we sure
Brittany, she's sitting there going, "Oh God, Dad said he'd take me to dinner and we'd go to the movies." Elvis is playing.
Good to see Elvis.
We'll be back.
Have you seen it, Brittany? Oh, even if you're not like my wife is, she likes Elvis, but doesn't. She's not like obsessed with him like I am. The movie's 2 hours and 49 minutes. She didn't move. I mean, we sat there glued to it. And we can't wait to go again. Like, it is that good of a movie.
Top Gun 2? Top Gun 2?
Top Gun is nothing.
Really good. You haven't even seen it yet. Wes hasn't seen it.
I haven't seen it yet.
I saw Elvis instead of Top Gun.
I went and saw Elvis instead.
Everyone else in America.
I saw Top Gun. I've seen them all.
Yeah.
I'm a movie freak. I got my own movie theater.
What's your all-time favorite movie?
Mike? My all-time favorite movie, I'll be honest, when I saw Jaws come out, and the same year I went into a theater in Ohio, and Gartless and McEwen were sitting in the front row.
No way.
We all saw E.T. together. All the racers were there because rained out or something.
That was one of the first movies I went to a movie theater.
Extraterrestrial. You never saw it?
It's awesome. I love that movie.
That's one of the first movies
I
went to.
It's coming back out. They're re-releasing E.T.
and it scared the shit out of me because I was like,
it was kind of creepy.
I took my grandson. I built a ramp in the backyard, Ashley's son, and I told him we're going to do what E.T. do, go up that ramp. I didn't think about he didn't know how to land. He went up that ramp, came down on the other side, and I left the yard. I ran home. But you know what? The Elvis deal, what I loved about it most, because I love movies when they tell the story of the beginning. Like Batman. I saw all the Batman movies. I loved them all. But my favorite was when I saw, and I didn't know Batman actually had peak motor oil in his Batmobile. Slid that in there. Okay. So, but what I'm saying is, when you see the beginning of something, the history of it, like when they showed how he originally ended up when he went over in foreign Pakistan or wherever,
wherever it was,
and he went into the church, and
Begins.
And that was a whole different visual of what happened. But Elvis, the best part was in the beginning when he was a little kid down there in the
when
South.
He went in that revival tent.
Freaked me out.
Oh, it was amazing.
That movie covers like his entire life, right?
Yeah, I mean, literally from all damn near like womb
you
to
know what
grave.
it's like to be in a show, and I lived all that because movies.
We know that.
My wife says, John, you've been watching Rocky for a day and a half. I said, I'm going to Indy. She goes, what's that have to do with Rocky?
Oh, I get it, man.
You look
at
the
raw eggs and
every episode. Yeah, he did. Every episode of Rocky, there's always something. First it was Andrea. Okay. Then the second one was there's always a story. Then his wife's having, Adrian. She's having a baby, and then she's almost dying, and he comes back to fight from that. She wakes up from death. Get him, Rocky. Okay. Yeah. But I'll buy it. But that is a motivation coming back to Indy. Put that Rocky story, go back over to Indy, get that fire in your belly and go in there, believe, and you can win. There's only one guy knows who wins. Okay? And it ain't Biden. Oh, no. No. Cut that. I was trying to make a joke there. Okay. And I don't get into politics. Okay. No, but what I'm saying is, when Elvis, when he ran through the church and the gospel, and I'm sitting there and I am crying and it's, oh my God, I love this. And a guy turned around and said, Jesus, would you let us watch the movie? I said, well, I'm having an emotional moment here, buddy. Okay. I said, I met Priscilla. What do you think of that?
Did you?
Yeah, I actually did.
Really?
Yeah, we did Elvis cars. Don't you see?
Yeah,
that?
It's right there. Yeah. Why don't we do it? You need to do another one of those. Who do we got to call, Brian? Let's do another Elvis car. I bet they'd put some money into it. They'll throw some money at it.
How long ago did we quit taping this show?
No point. We're still going right now.
We're going to the end. You know your hair's grown an inch since we've been here. Okay.
I take a beating for this.
Bolander, you're the
I
boss.
tried to swoop it over once and they crucified me for that.
I made one political statement.
Just one.
Biden's the president of our country. I ain't ever going to argue with our president. God bless him. We want him to do good. And whoever the next president is. Don't care, didn't get into it. I just thought, I don't know what I thought. Okay. What are we in Chicago? Are we Republicans or Democrats? Because I'm atheist. I ain't talking. Ain't that what atheist means?
Yeah, no. I think so.
I stand on the fifth.
I plead the fifth. Yeah, he pleads the fifth.
I plead the fifth. Okay, I'm running out of shit.
All right, last thing I want to ask. Whoever you race in the first round of the call out, will you deep stage?
People ask me that, but that ain't really my plan. Okay. People say to me,
we've been liking seeing you do it.
Why do you do that? Number one, and I said it in the interview the other day, nobody would believe what I tell them. And they go, why do you do that? It don't make no difference of cutting the light. You just roll 5 inches deeper, but it might be the difference in winning a race. So if I get a guy with a car that's running the same as me and he can leave just like me, I roll with that extra 5 inches because that might be the difference.
And it's psychological too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I don't play the psychological game. Let me tell you, if anybody tells you they play the psychological, and there are some that try it, but it screws them up most of the time. because when your brain, you're trained, you know what I mean, to go through a ritual. And if you try to change that ritual and you think, I need to look at this, it'll throw up everything else that you know, throw off everything else that you do. So I don't really do it. And people say, well, why do you jump in there deep? Well, number one, for some reason, when I look at the bulb, hard for me to keep my focus. So if I go right to my light and I park on it, right in the middle of it, I'll drift. Robert's given me those gun sight things where they go around to a circle so you can keep the middle. But my old brain's wired backwards. So I jump and I go places on the planet where I shouldn't go. So what I do is I wait, and even if the other guy goes in first or I go in or vice versa, I jump in, because when I attack the tree, it's like my eyes open up and I find the bulb. And nobody believes that. Oh, you want us to believe that? But it's the truth. And every time I tried to think like going deep, okay, I could tell you a couple situations that happened recently that really screwed me up. And the other guy said, I can't believe you did that. You know, why'd you go deep? And I'm thinking, wait a minute. Were we in the same lane from each other? Because you went deep first. Oh, I did? Yeah, you put out the bulb. You're the one that made me do it. And I screwed myself up. You know what I mean? So, and that really is the truth. And I would only tell that here on this show.
The Wes Buck Show. Say the Wes Buck Show. Can I get that? One more time.
Let's make this perfectly clear. The Wes Buck Show. WESBUCK.
Rock and roll, brother. Don't forget it. You heard it here. John, we'll let you go.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let's go do something. Go to dinner or something? I'll take you to dinner.
No, I'm going right down to rehab.
Rehab?
Yeah, I'm going right to the gym to take all this stress out of my head that you three have put in there. But I want to tell you the story before I leave, but I can't tell it in front of the ladies.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. We'll make them
leave.
We're
going to sign off here.
Hey, thank you guys all so much for joining us. Seriously, I don't know which camera I'm talking to. Guys, seriously, this has been a fantastic day. Huge shout out to Brian Bolander, Sarah Slaughter, everybody at Peak Antifreeze, John Force Racing, the greatest of all time, Blue Def Chevrolet Performance, Herco, Baldwin Filters, Montana Brands, Flavor Pack, Monster Energy, RMT, we're Cornwell Tools, Gates Belts and Hoses, Goodyear, Simpson Tires. Thank you guys so much for supporting John so he can be here talking to us and talking to you. Seriously, everybody that watches this show, we're 275, I think, episodes into this. We've been printing the magazine for 16 years. This is a bit of a full circle moment for us. Thank you guys for your support. All the companies that have supported us over the years, bought ads, sponsored the show. Thank you guys all of our sponsors, Tommy and the gang at Stroud Safety, Mark Beatty, Elite High Performance, Holly Performance Parts. I'm missing one. Redline Oils. Who else? Flow Racing. Huge shout out to our friends at Flow Racing. But most importantly, all of you for joining us here every Wednesday. Click and like, click and share, click and subscribe. Thank you for being a part of it. We truly feel it's our honor and duty to spread the gospel of drag racing. This is the great American motorsport, and we will not rest until everybody else in the world falls in line. So thank you guys so much. John, thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Do you believe a guy would just sit here and put all them plugs in for his sponsors?
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Yep.